Hello, all my dear followers. I'd like to welcome you to the second and final season of What If Naruto deserted Konoha and was trained by Hashirama. Thank you so much to everyone who's been waiting for this season, and I just ask for a like and a subscription to make me happy. Enjoy.
Land of Rain. Aim/crater. Now this is what I call a fight, Naruto thought as Azura's razor tail slashed at him, forcing him to pull back. Mokutan, Jukai Koten. He spoke clearly as an entire forest of trees erupted from the ground, completely changing the entire battlefield. Impressive, commented Deva as he landed on one of the various branches. So you are a Senju. Judging by the fact that you have the Rinnegan, you must be related to the Senju too. Naruto shot back. What are you talking about? Deva questioned as the other 5 paths of pain started to encircle the lone masked blonde. The Rinnegan can only be awakened by combining the power of the Senju and the Uchiha into one vessel. My comrade is the same, Naruto explained. Senju and Uchiha. Deva trailed off before narrowing his eyes. Not that it matters now. I will kill you for what you have done here today. Give me your best shot, Naruto challenged. Shinra Tensei, Deva exclaimed as a massive pulse of gravity lashed out and flattened a good chunk of the newly created forest. His gravity control is on par with Karen's, Naruto thought, and absently flung a 3-pronged kunai to the side as he was sent flying backwards by the gravity blast. I know Karen and I have talked about her using her chakra rods to control slave bodies, but we discarded the idea, he added as Human appeared behind him with his arm outstretched. It seems whoever this guy is, he actually went through with it. Ningen-Human began. Hiraishin no Jutsu, Naruto interrupted as he flashed to where his 3-pronged kunai was embedded in the destroyed trunk of a nearby tree. That was... Deva trailed off at the sight. Who are you? I am Senju Hashirama, Naruto declared. Senju Hashirama? Deva questioned in surprise. And here I thought only Uchiha Madara was still alive to remember the founding era. Uchiha Madara? Naruto inquired. Are you saying he's alive? We are. Deva mused. Acquainted. How could Madara still be alive? Hashirama-sensei killed him decades ago, so unless he's somehow immortal then I doubt it's really him, Naruto thought. However, both Dad and Mom told me that they believed it was Madara that controlled the Kyuubi the night I was born, so maybe. Do not be stupid, boy. The Kyuubi no Yoko, less commonly known as Kurama, growled from the back of his mind. Over the years they had grown on each other and they had learned to work together. However, the fox still preferred to keep to himself. When the fox talked, however, it was usually something important since he didn't really like pointless banter. He may have been similar, but the one who ripped me out of your mother's seal didn't feel like that accursed Uchiha. We'll worry about it later, Naruto responded and spun his 3-pronged kunai as he saw a blast of fire erupt from Azura's feet that launched him at the masked blonde. Shirato, Azura spoke as dozens of missile-like projectiles shot out of his sides before descending on Naruto's position. Shit! Naruto cursed in thought as he jumped back to avoid the volley. The trees were torn asunder as the missiles bombarded the battlefield, setting it ablaze even as the falling rain quickly washed the flames down. It looks like I'm going to have to take this to the next level. Kuchios no Jutsu, Animal said calmly as he placed his hand on the watery rock at his feet. Seals spread across the ground before a large 3-story tall rhino appeared in an explosion of smoke. It turned and started running right at the masked blonde, sending dust up into the air behind it as it moved. I grow tired of watching this, Kurama commented from the back of his mind. Stop holding back against this faker. All right then, Naruto thought in reply as he closed his eyes. Your jutsu cannot save you from a god's wrath, Deva declared as the rhino slammed into Naruto, blowing up dust into the air upon impact only to slow down as if it had hit a wall of some kind. What is this? He thought. Senjutsu. Sanin Moto. Naruto spoke clearly with his hands clamped down on the rhino's horn, holding it back. His eyes turned from blue to yellow as dark rings formed around his eyes and spread across his face as a dark circle appeared on his forehead. He took a deep breath as he felt the natural energy of the world around him flow through his body before he moved and almost effortlessly hurled the giant rhino into the air with his bare hands. What is this jutsu? Thought the 6 paths of pain. His Rinnegan couldn't see anything different besides the physical transformation which could be seen with regular human eyes, so where did this masked stranger gain such inhuman physical strength? Then there was his presence. This man before him seemed to be completely at ease with nature itself despite the fact that he was facing a god in mortal form. I can't let him finish whatever it is he plans to do, Deva thought as Azura and Human launched themselves at the masked blonde. Mokutan! Kajikai Korin! Naruto exclaimed as the ground tore open and a massive wooden flower erupted from the ground. This jutsu! Deva trailed off in thought as a strange sleeping gas was spewed from the wooden plant. Shinra Tensei! He called out as he sent out a massive blast of gravity, which not only blew the gas away but also flattened the small man-made forest including the wooden plant. Suddenly a bell-like screech filled the air, and he turned to see Naruto with a spinning chakra shuriken in hand and two shadow clones at his side. That last jutsu was just a distraction. Futon? Raisin shuriken? The masked blonde exclaimed as he threw the chakra shuriken at both Azura and Human who were still clustered together. Damn it! Pain cursed in thought as he tried to force both of his paths to dodge. It was too late, however. The chakra shuriken flew in between the two and then expanded into a rotating sphere of wind. Azura and Human were quickly ripped apart and vanished when the wind ball exploded with a resounding boom. Even my Naraku path can't repair that kind of damage. It required that the body at least be somewhat solid instead of atomized. Futon! Raisin shuriken! Naruto called out again as a second chakra shuriken was released from his hand right at the Deva path. Not again! Deva thought as Preta appeared in front of him. Fujitsu Kyuin! Preta muttered as a barrier formed in front of him and quickly absorbed the chakra shuriken. Did you notice? Kurama asked his host. Yeah, Naruto replied in thought. Each of these bodies are only using one path each. Don't underestimate him, Kurama said in warning. He may be a faker like that cousin of yours, but his eyes are still strong enough to challenge you. The Rinnegan really is something else, huh? Naruto thought as he quickly formed a set of hand seals. Mokutan! Mokoryu no Jutsu! He called out as a large wooden dragon erupted from the ground and circled around him before launching itself at the Preta path. Impressive! Deva commented as the wooden dragon closed in. But not good enough. Fujitsu Kyuin! Preta spoke clearly as the wooden dragon descended upon him. It stopped dead in its tracks and slowly started to dissolve when he noticed a single three-pronged kunai embedded in its mouth. Hiraishin no Jutsu? Naruto appeared in front of him faster than he could see and literally punched clean through Preta's head. I guess these guys count as metal heads, huh? Don't make jokes at a time like this, Kurama growled in annoyance. Seriously, his Jinchuriki never seemed to take things like this seriously, just like Senju Hashirama. Keep your head in the game, brat. Jigakudo. Naraku spoke clearly as a large demonic head, which he recognized as Karen's outer path, appeared behind the lone path. Why is he summoning that thing for? Naruto asked in thought. Be on your guard, Kurama warned. You've got to be kidding me? Naruto muttered as he watched the outer path devour the remains of Preta and then spew him back out fully healed. What the fuck was that? Don't ask me, Kurama responded. I only ever saw old man Rakudo create the moon with his gravity jutsu. Nothing else. Great? Naruto grumbled out loud. This isn't like Karen's resurrection jutsu that makes use of the outer path, but instead it's something else since those slave bodies are already dead. Do you realize how futile it is to challenge a god now? Deva questioned. Again with that god talk of yours, Naruto said with a mocking tone. Hiraishin no Jutsu. He appeared at Preta's side in a yellow flash before driving his Senjutsu-enhanced fists through the heads of both Preta and Naraku. For the record, I'd already tagged this bastard when I killed him the first time, he added as he kicked the now headless Preta to the side. The Yondaime Hokage's Hiraishin no Jutsu is truly a dangerous jutsu, Pain thought as he observed the masked blonde. In a contest of speed, it is likely equal to Madara's spacetime ninjutsu. Kuchios no Jutsu, Animal exclaimed as he slammed his hand down on the ground. Seals spread out on the surface and a giant dog appeared in an explosion of smoke. You know, Naruto spoke quietly in the rain. You should really learn to look up. A second later, a single three-pronged kunai fell like the rain that hit its presence and landed next to the animal path. Hiraishin no Jutsu. He appeared above animal and his summoned dog with a giant chakra sphere in hand. Senpo. Cho Udama Rasengan. Th useless. Pain thought as his animal path was crushed by the massive spiraling ball, and the giant dog disappeared in a burst of smoke. To push me this far. He's even destroyed my Naraku path, so I can't revive the others. At this rate, I'll be forced to use that jutsu to end this. What's the matter? Running out of ideas. Naruto asked the Deva path. Bansho Tenin. Deva. Pain spoke clearly as gravity shifted and Naruto was pulled towards him. A large boulder-like chunk of the earth was ripped up and then flung at the falling masked blonde, causing him to fling out his three-pronged kunai to the side. Hiraishin no Jutsu. Naruto called out as flash to where the kunai landed. I have no other choice, Pain thought warily. If I just continue attacking him like this, then he'll just keep using that jutsu to escape. I have to use that jutsu if I want to win this. It should draw in everything that has one of his seals into the jutsu, so he can't escape unless he wishes to leave the battlefield, which will buy me time to recover my paths and regroup. What's the matter? Have I finally managed to shut you up? Naruto questioned the now silent Deva path. Chibaku Tensei. Pain spoke clearly as his hands formed a triangle seal, and a small black of chakra appeared in the center. He threw it up into the sky and a blinding light shone down as gravity began to shift. What the hell is this? Naruto asked in thought as he felt the earth start to rumble and groan. This is the jutsu that old man Rakuto used to create the moon, Kurama replied. Shit. Naruto thought as the ground was torn apart and lifted up towards the black chakra gravity sphere. What the hell can I do? He's pulling in all of my Hiraishin kunai, and if I jump to the one I placed at the border, then by the time I get back he'll probably have fully recovered. Sage knows that there's a lot of dead people in this village that he can use for his little puppet jutsu after Karen reduced it to a crater. Tsh, to think that even now you have to rely on me to get you through your battles. Kurama gritted in annoyance. Over the years he and Naruto had a better comradeship than his previous two hosts, but even still, he hated to have someone use his power. Still, his current host was strong and could beat this faker without him, however that would take too long and he was growing tired of watching this farce. Synchronize your chakra with mine and let's finish this. Thanks, Kurama, Naruto said out loud with a smile, as he was pulled up into the newly formed, small moon that Pain had created. Silence. Finally, Pain thought as he turned away. Now I need to deal with the others and then I can start recovering my paths in preparation for the next assault. A suddenly snapping noise caused him to stop in his tracks and turn back to the new moon he'd just created. Impossible. There's no way. A second later, a golden chakra fox covered in a very complex seal matrix that spread across its spine and tails exploded from the underside of the small moon. That's impossible. That's the... Let me deal with the gravity well. Kurama spoke aloud through his own chakra mouth as his tails dug back inside the moon and quickly wrapped around its core before crushing it. Hang on! He roared as the gravity sphere was destroyed and the chakra fox fell towards the ground. Be careful, Kurama! Naruto shouted from inside the chakra fox's head. His mask was gone, revealing his face, which had itself undergone a transformation as golden flame-like chakra hand encased his form, taking the shape of the Rakuto Sennin, complete with his jacket opened wide, revealing a black undercoat and an extensive seal matrix below. To think he'd be able to destroy Chibaku Tensei, Pain thought as the chakra fox landed in front of him with a deafening impact. So, you're the Kyuubi Jinchuriki. I thought you were dead and was waiting for the Kyuubi to reform, but since you're here, I will capture you now. Kurama, Naruto said quietly as he raised his hands and started gathering red and blue chakra spheres into a single black ball at the chakra fox's mouth. Pitiful faker. Kurama growled down at Pain as his mouth clamped down on the black chakra sphere. You are not him and never will be. By Jidama! Naruto exclaimed as Kurama released the black chakra sphere in a blast of golden light that washed over the battlefield. Shinra Tensei! Pain called out as he threw up a gravity barrier to protect himself. To think that the Kyuubi has been hidden from us for all these years. He thought as the blast died down and a three-pronged kunai landed at his feet. Hiraishin no Jutsu, Naruto, still covered in his released chakra form, appeared in front of him with a familiar chakra sphere in hand. Rasengan! The blow came faster than Pain could react, especially with his jutsu's 5-second cooldown period. No! Pain gasped in pain as his final path was obliterated. Naruto. Kurama asked his host now that his chakra body had been drawn back into the seal. These were just slave bodies, Naruto thought in reply. If that's the case, then where is the real one? Far away from the battlefield, Uzumaki Nagato sat in his mechanical chair with blood dripping from his mouth as he stared out at the where his paths had been defeated. He'd pushed himself beyond his limits and had even been forced to use Chibaku Tensei, though he hadn't expected for his opponent to call upon the power of the Kyuubi of all things. He could sense that Konan had been defeated, and with the destruction of his 6 paths, it was only a matter of time before he would soon follow her and Yahiko. Maybe if he had done things differently, it wouldn't have turned out like this. This is unexpected. Madara's voice spoke from behind him as he felt a kunai dig into his back. And I can't say I like how things have turned out. Madara. Why, you. Nagato rasped out. I am the one who gave you those godly eyes of yours, and now I want them back. You were merely my pawn, and now your usefulness has come to an end. Goodbye, Nagato. Madara explained before triggering his jutsu and drawing in Nagato's corpse to his own personal dimension. Jikuken, Ito. The vortex died down a moment later, leaving only Madara standing alone. At least he was until a certain figure landed in front of him. So you've already gotten to him, huh? Naruto mused at the sight of the orange-masked Akatsuki member. This guy. He's definitely the one who controlled me all those years ago. He's not Madara? And yet, I felt his disgusting presence before. He's one of your father's old students. The kid was supposed to have died during the last war. Uchiha Obito, Kurama realized. Uzumaki Naruto, I presume? Obito Madara inquired. I've been looking for the Kyuubi for quite some time now. Please call me Menma, Naruto responded. You're Uchiha Obito? One of my dad's old students? Interesting, Obito muttered at his words. Call me Tobi. It's because of you that my parents are dead, Naruto spoke clearly. And it's because of your father and your former sensei that the woman I love is dead. I guess we can call it even, Obito countered. You know, sooner or later one of us will have to kill the other, Naruto reasoned. Most certainly, Obito agreed. You have one of my precious Biju after all. I won't let you have the Biju, Naruto told him. Then I look forward to seeing you on the battlefield. Obito chuckled as a vortex formed from his right eye and pulled him in. Jikuken Ito. He was gone a moment later. Was it wise to let him go? Kurama asked his Jinchuriki. We're in no shape to face him right now, Naruto replied. I'm out of Hiraishin Kunai. Our forces are scattered, and it's only a matter of time before the other villages find out what has happened here. If I were to face him now, it could go on for days before either of us gets tired. We'll get him next time. Land of Lightning, Akatsuki hideout. Why did you call us here? Sasuke inquired. From what he'd been told by Kisame, a pair of immortals called Kakuzu and Haiden had captured the Nibi Jinchuriki a few months ago and used this base to extract her Biju. The situation has changed, Obito replied. I'm sending you after the Hachibi alone, while Kisame hunts the Ichibi. What happened? Kisame asked confused. Mangekyo no Sato has been destroyed and the rest of the Akatsuki are dead, Obito answered to their surprise. What? Kisame asked with a flicker of surprise. Who did it? Judging by their Hittites, I'd say Yukigekyo no Sato, Obito replied, though it was only half the truth. He wasn't about to drop Naruto's name into this conversation, considering Sasuke's presence and his current hold over the younger Uchiha was fragile at best right now. In another life, Naruto would have been a means to make Sasuke stronger and corrupt him more, but that was another life where Naruto hadn't sacrificed himself to save Sasuke all those years ago. I didn't know Yuki had any shinobi capable to taking on S-rank Nuke Nin, Kisame mused. They've been isolated much like AIM used to be, so it's not really a surprise that they have a few capable shinobi amongst their ranks like Hanzo and Pain, Obito reasoned. I will personally deal with them later. As for now, we should continue gathering the remaining Biju. He would have to face Naruto himself in order to capture the Kyuubi, judging from his performance during his battle with the 6 Paths of Pain. The Ichibi Gaki, huh? I wouldn't mind having another crack at him. Kisame grinned as Samahata giggled on his back. Fine then, Sasuke grunted as he turned away. I'll deal with the Hachibi alone. I'll see you both when you get back. Obito chuckled as he watched the two disappear. Zetsu, keep watch over Sasuke just in case he gets any ideas. Of course, White Zetsu answered. Leave it to us, Black Zetsu added as the human flytrap sank into the ground and disappeared. Are you going to come out? Obito asked over his shoulder. Kukukuku, so you knew I was here? Asked a very different Yakushi Kabuto. The man had undergone an inhuman transformation. Scales covered his face and his eyes were yellow with slitted pupils and black rings circling them behind his glasses. A brown cloak covered his form with a hood hiding his face, though the unnatural smile on his face gave away to his disturbing origins. Why have you come here? Obito questioned. I wish to join you, Kabuto replied. Orochimaru-sama was killed by the one called Menma and Oto was destroyed by his allies. I know what you are planning and I would love to see how this all plays out. What could you possibly offer me? Obito asked, honestly wanting to know. This man was clearly someone who was just trying to become a second Orochimaru, and he remembered that he had betrayed Akatsuki once before, so his successor would probably follow in his master's footsteps. Kuchios. Edo Tensei? Kabuto whispered as a wooden coffin exploded from the ground at his side, and its hood fell down, revealing a lone figure inside. That's you. How did you find? Obito trailed off at the sight. Will this suffice? Kabuto smiled wickedly. Land of lightning. Storm cloud ravine. Uchiha Sasuke had lost everything he ever cared about repeatedly over the course of his life and always had others deciding how to use him to benefit them. His clan had been wiped out by Konoha. His brother had set himself up to be the scapegoat, and the Sandaime Hokage sat back and watched it all happen. His best friend had lived a life filled with nothing but hatred and had sacrificed himself for Sasuke 9 years ago on their very first real mission, allowing him to awaken his clan's cursed power. He'd finally killed Itachi and learned the truth about that night, but in the end it didn't matter. Konoha had betrayed its very own founders and condemned those that remained to a life on the run. Long ago Sasuke had refused to be anyone's puppet, but the truth was that he'd always been used by someone. First it was the Sandaime Hokage, then it was Itachi, and now it was Madara, though Orochimaru had tried back when he was still a genin. Now he no longer cared whom he was being used by because he was strong enough to decide his own path, and that path was clear. He was going to destroy Konoha for their crimes once and for all. Truthfully, he'd been thinking about this ever since he had found out exactly how his best friend had been treated after he died, but had always put it to the back of his mind because it was not something Naruto would have wanted. Then he had seen how Konohamaru was treated after the Ichibi was sealed within him by his own grandfather of all people, condemning him to Naruto's fate in the same way that the Yondaime Hokage had done 13 years prior. Again, he put the thought of destroying Konoha to the back of his mind, but finding out that Konoha ordered that his entire family be wiped out was too much even for him. With all 9 of the Biju under his control, he would be able to destroy Konoha and secure a future where the Uchiha clan was restored to its former glory. Should the other villages try to interfere and challenge him, then he would crush them to show the world what happens when someone dares to use him and his clan for their own ends. So this is it, Sasuke muttered as he climbed the steps of the mountain ravine. Yo, who are you? A voice spoke up as he approached what seemed to be a small building of some kind. I'm writing here so Shu. A dark-skinned man with several tattoos on his body was sitting on a small stool to the side of the dwelling with a notebook and a pencil in his hands. Yatsuki Karabi? Sasuke inquired. The Hachibi Jinchuriki? That's me. Da Rap Pin Killer B. Karabi replied. Who's asking, fool, ya fool? You're coming with me, Sasuke declared as his new eternal Mangekyo Sharingan swirled into being. Tsukuyami, he whispered as his eyes locked with the Hachibi Jinchuriki, causing the latter to freeze in place. That was too easy, the Uchiha thought before Karabi quickly snapped out of it, and threw the pencil he had been holding infused with what he could tell as lightning chakra, forcing Sasuke to hastily dodge. Genjutsu don't work on Jinchuriki, who can control their Biju, fool. You fool, Karabi told him. Amaterasu, Sasuke continued as black flames exploded from his eye and quickly burned Karabi until he dissolved into ink. An ink clone? When did he switch? A moment later, the Hachibi Jinchuriki reappeared from the side, closing in on the Uchiha, and suddenly drew 7 swords using his joints, forcing Sasuke back further. How can he use 7 swords like this? That's no normal Kenjutsu style. Sasuke thought before black flames sprang up around him in a protective circle. Enten. Koken no Tate. He spoke clearly. Kurabi pulled away. Not bad, Kurabi commented. But it's still so sad. He finished as he threw a pair of his swords right at Sasuke. Susanoo, Sasuke declared as purple chakra exploded upwards around him and formed a large ethereal demonic humanoid that towered over the two combatants with a rotating black orb in its third hand. B. This kid is an Uchiha. The Hachibi? Gyuki said from the back of his host's mind. Don't underestimate him. I got it. Don't worry a bit. Kurabi responded as crimson chakra exploded from his form and condensed. 8 crimson tails sprang out from the demonic shroud and formed a black sphere before it exploded to reveal his transformation. The dust was blown away as Kurabi stood encased in a red haze, a black mask covering his face with white glowing eyes. This is... Sasuke trailed off in thought at the sight before him. Kurabi yelled as he lunged right at the spiritual deity. As he closed in, bones formed over his shoulder and spine, taking the appearance of an ox's head. Lariat! He exclaimed as he rammed the demonic skull right in Susanoo's face with an echoing impact that forced the ethereal demigod to recoil from the blow. The strength of an ox indeed, Sasuke thought as his Susanoo was pushed back and forced to quickly reform. Enten, Kagetsuchi! He called out. Black flames sprang up in front of him and shot forward, forcing Kurabi to pull back or be touched by them. I cannot defeat him like this, he added as he brought Susanoo's 2 free arms up and formed a pair of spiritual swords. You've got to be faster than that, Kurabi rapped as he jumped back to evade the twin slashes from the blades. I'm gonna make you go splat. Enten, Yasaka no Magatama. Sasuke spoke clearly as rotating Magatama exploded from the orb in Susanoo's third hand covered in black flames. This kid is good, Kurabi thought as he narrowly evaded the dozen Magatama thrown at him. I wonder if I could. This isn't the time to be holding back, Gyuki told him. Version 2 isn't going to cut it against this guy. But Kurabi started. Let's just do it, Gyuki interrupted. All right then, Kurabi said aloud as the red chakra suddenly changed into purple tentacles similar to those on an octopus and continued to expand upwards and outwards. Now what? Sasuke muttered, only for his eyes to widen in momentary surprise when a fully formed Hachibi no Kyogyu towered over him, effectively crushing the mountain that they had been fighting on. Shit! He cursed as he jumped back. I float like a butterfly and I'll sting you like a killer bee. 'Cause I'm the 8-tailed beast, The massive demon ox roared its head back and gathered red and blue chakra spheres at its mouth before compressing them into a black sphere pulsing with lightning. Not good, Sasuke realized as his eyes started to bleed. By Jidama! Gyuki exclaimed as he brought his head down and unleashed a massive blast of chakra that washed over everything in front of him. His Jinchuriki whistled as it tore through the valley and wiped out everything its path, including several small mountains. That was great, Edo, Kurabi rapped from inside the ox's head. This guy gets 0. Hold that thought, Gyuki said back as the dust cleared. Enten, Kagetsuchi no Tsurugi. A now bleeding heavily Sasuke called out as his Susanoo reformed a single arm with a sword in hand. The blade was encased in black flames as it lashed forward and impaled the demon ox straight through the chest. D-damn, Gyuki gritted out as the black flames consumed him. I know, Kurabi shouted back as he flung himself out of the demon ox's back. You won't escape, Sasuke yelled as his Susanoo started to fade away. A single arm lashed out and grabbed Kurabi, squeezing him in its vice-like grip. Gyuki almost pleaded. Come on, keep it together. It looks like, Kurabi thought as he finally lost consciousness. HN, Sasuke grunted as his Susanoo finally faded and he collapsed to one knee in exhaustion. He still had a long way to go. Land of Fire, Forest. He'd done it. After weeks of painstaking training with the toads of Myobokuzen, he's finally learned how to use Senjutsu that was said to be one of the strongest abilities in the entire shinobi world. Of course, he still hadn't mastered it yet since the annoying Ichibi kept interfering whenever Fukasaku or Shima tried to merge with his shoulders in order for him to draw in natural energy while moving and fighting. As a descendant of the Sarutobi clan, he was a genius and had quickly thought of a way around that little problem, though it was only a short-term solution, and he knew it wouldn't last long in any prolonged battle with the Akatsuki. It was good enough for now, though. A flicker of movement drew his attention, and he immediately threw a shuriken from his pouch in its direction. "Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu," he exclaimed as the shuriken became 20 in an instant and bombarded the targeted area. "Not bad, kid," Kisame commented as he stepped out from behind the tree that was now covered with shuriken. "You were able to notice my approach. You've gotten better." "You are." Konohamaru trailed off as he remained perfectly still and started gathering natural energy. "Suetun, Dai Bakusue Shoha," Kisame called out as he unleashed a massive torrent of water from his mouth, which quickly expanded and formed a massive dome. "This dome again," Konohamaru thought as his eyes turned yellow with red rings around them and his pupils elongated into horizontal slits like that of toads. "Senjutsu, Sanin Moto," he said into the water as it rippled. "You're mine now. I won't let you escape again." Kisame laughed as he closed in, Samahata having already embedded itself in his back and triggered his transformation into a shark-like creature. "Senpo, Kawazu Kumite," Konohamaru called out as he threw out a punch to intercept the attacking man-shark and the water rippled. Kisame laughed as he easily dodged only to stop in surprise as Samahata absorbed the natural energy of the attack and was forced to break away from its master, returning him to human form. "Senpo, Udama Rasengan," the Ichibi Jinchuriki exclaimed as he quickly swam at the stunned Kisame and slammed a large body-sized spiraling sphere of chakra into him, blowing him clear out of the water dome and causing it to collapse. What the fuck was that?" Kisame rasped out as he shakily stood and Samahata crawled up to his side. The sword seemed to be choking or something even as it tried to quickly heal its wielder's wounds. "What the fuck is wrong with your chakra? That's not your Biju's power, so what gives?" "I'm not telling you anything," Konohamaru shot back as his fingers formed a familiar hand seal. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu." Two clones popped into existence at his side a moment later. "This ends here. Only one of us will be leaving this battlefield alive," he shouted as the two clones started channeling chakra to his hand. "What is that?" Kisame thought in mounting worry as the whole area seemed to grow hotter by the second. "Katan, Goen Rasengan," Konohamaru called out as he now held a glowing red sphere of spinning fire in his hand. He threw it like one would a ball right at the Kiri Nuknin, forcing Kisame to try and dodge the oncoming attack, but he knew he couldn't evade it in time. Samahata itself saw this and jumped in the way of the compressed fireball, causing its wielder to stare wide-eyed as the monster sword was engulfed in a column of fire that blew him back through several trees. "Shit!" Kisame cursed as he bled from the scratches and cuts on his body. Samahata couldn't absorb that strange chakra the kid was using and was destroyed by whatever that Katanjutsu was since it used that strange chakra. That was the second time he'd lost his prized sword to Konoha Shinobi, and this time he wouldn't be able to get it back. To hell with this, it was personal now. "Suetun, Daikoden no Jutsu," he exclaimed as a massive water shark exploded from his mouth and encased his form before shooting right at the Ichibi Jinchuriki. If he was gonna die, then he would do so fighting. "I'm out of Sage Chakra and there's no way I can create a clone to recharge it while this guy is fighting me," Konohamaru thought as he watched the water shark close in. "Would you like some power? Let's kill him. I want to see blood." Shikaku laughed from the back of his mind. "For once we agree on something," Konohamaru responded as he pulled on his Biju's chakra. A column of red chakra exploded from his form as sand exploded from the ground around him and quickly created a wall of sand to defend against the water shark. Even as the sand soaked up the water shark, more sand erupted from the ground and encased Konohamaru until it took the shape of a familiar and terrifying Ichibi no Tanuki which towered over forest before it. "He's able to fully transform into the Ichibi?" Kisame thought in surprise. "Without Samahata, I can't beat this. I can't hold this form long and stay in control," Konohamaru thought as he stood on Shikaku's head and started gathering what looked like a whirlwind of sand and dust into a single compressed black sphere of chakra at the Ichibi's mouth. "Oh shit!" Kisame cursed under his breath. "By Jidama!" Konohamaru called out as the black sphere exploded forward in a beam of light. The forest was torn apart as the blast washed over Kisame, utterly erasing everything it touched in a beam of light. As the blast died down and Konohamaru quickly cut the flow of the Ichibi's chakra and Shikaku's body fell apart and collapsed to the ground in a pile of sand. I did it, he stammered in relief and exhaustion. Are you proud of me, Aniki? Land of Spring, Yuki/Uzumaki clan compound. Yukigakure no Sato had changed considerably since the Civil War ended 8 years ago, with the most notable change being that almost the entirety of the Land of Snow had been turned into a Land of Spring. Thanks to the heat generators of the Kazahana clan, the snow that had given the country its name had almost completely melted away, leaving only the mountaintops where Yuki was located as the only patches of snow to be found. Yuki hadn't had a ninja clan of its own like other shinobi villages, and the Kazahana were a civilian clan with a large amount of wealth and respect, which allowed them to establish themselves as the daimyo of the country when it was first formed. When the remnant of the Uzumaki clan and their vassals had settled down and integrated into the village after the Civil War, they were quickly able to seize control of the village with the daimyo's backing. To help settle into the village and become part of it as well as lead it, they had constructed a good-sized Uzumaki compound in the heart of the village. Naruto could still remember the looks on people's faces when he built a house with one hand seal. Now he could see why Hashirama-sensei found it so funny. Being a minor shinobi village, Yuki only had a few thousand active shinobi and kunoichi at any given time. When compared to the likes of the main 5 villages that boasted tens of thousands, the forces of such a minor village just couldn't measure up. The destruction of Uzushio showed all of the minor villages what happened when a minor village grew too strong for their liking. The only reason they hadn't destroyed AIM completely during the wars, despite it being just below Suna in strength, was because Hanzo and later Pain were powerful enough to defend it. It really was such a shame that both of them lost sight of the peace that they sought. "So you've heard?" Karen asked her surprise guest as she sat down at her table and read the latest report. "I may not be as good as Ano Kanichin, but I am still a seal master like every Uzumaki," Naruto responded as he sat on the windowsill with one leg hanging off. "Mito-sama's seals really are amazing. It's no wonder that Hashirama-sensei could use them to spy on the whole continent." "The remnant of the Akatsuki has kidnapped the Hachibi Jinchuriki," Karen said calmly. "Apparently he was the brother of the current Raikage, and it seems that the Raikage has called a meeting of the Kages in the Land of Iron." "The Samurai Nation," Naruto mused. "I'm surprised at you," Karen commented with a sly smirk as she leaned back in her chair. "From the reports, the one who took the Hachibi Jinchuriki was none other than Uchiha Sasuke, your former teammate. We were comrades once," Naruto explained, "but in the end he was just using me like everyone else. I no longer care what happens with the Uchiha or Konoha." "Really?" Karen chuckled at his words. "What will you do, I wonder? He is a member of the Akatsuki now, and that means he's Madara's puppet, so what will you do when you see him next?" "He is of no concern to me," Naruto replied. "I'll leave him to you. Do with him as you please." "I'll do just that, Naruto-kun," Karen responded before turning back to the papers that littered her desk. "What are we going to do about this Kage Summit that they're organizing?" "They're throwing a party," Naruto shrugged. "I say we crash it." Land of Lightning, Akatsuki base. Finally, White Zetsu breathed in relief as the last of the crimson chakra flowed into the demonic statue's mouth. "It took forever," Black Zetsu commented. "Well, there are only 4 of us. With the Hachibi sealed, all that remains is the Ichibi and the Kyubi," Obito mused as he looked over at the younger Uchiha to his side. "Not bad, Sasuke," he said, referring to his clansman's capture of the Hachibi Jinchuriki. He had been worried that Sasuke wouldn't be enough to handle a perfect Jinchuriki like Kurabi. However, he was confident in the younger man's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan grant him enough power to do the job. "What are we going to do about the others?" Sasuke inquired. "I still can't believe that Kisame lost against that kid," Black Zetsu spoke up. "It's a shame I couldn't get a hold of his corpse," Kabuto thought in silence. "He would have been a good asset to use for what is about to happen after I resurrected him with my jutsu." "The Raikage is organizing a summit," White Zetsu explained. "Considering 7 of the 9 Biju are in our possession, they're a little late, but they could pose a problem if we're not careful." "The Kages are irrelevant," Obito denied. "Where are they holding this summit?" "The Land of Iron," White Zetsu answered. It's a neutral nation comprised of nothing but samurai. From what I know, the last known contact between their forces was with Hanzo back during the Second Shinobi War. Samurai? Sasuke almost sneered at the mention of them. What of the Kage's escorts? Obito questioned further. 2 escorts per Kage, White Zetsu replied. If I know that fool of a Hokage, he'll probably bring the Ichibi Jinchuriki with him, Sasuke spoke up. Jiraiya will want to have Konohamaru close so as to keep an eye on him, especially after what happened with Kisame. Kukukuku, Kabuto chuckled. What are you going to do now, Zetsu? I have something I need you to do. Land of Fire, Konoha/Hokage Tower. Jiraiya of the Sannin, the Godame Hokage of Konoha, was known as the world's most famous author for his great literature. To the men of the world, both shinobi and civilian, he was regarded as the greatest novelist who has ever lived. On the other hand, to the women, both kunoichi and civilian, he was regarded as the worst pervert of all time for his research and his Ika Ika Paradise books. As a shinobi, he was the strongest of Konoha, rivaled only by his current student, Sarutobi Konohamaru. Speaking of the Ichibi Jinchuriki, Jiraiya had almost had a heart attack when he found out that the Akatsuki agent Hashigaki Kisame had tried to capture him on his way back from Myobokuzen. Thankfully, Konohamaru was able to defeat the Kiri Nuke-nin and even destroy Samahata before returning to the safety of Konoha. The ninja of the village had accepted Konohamaru after hearing about his accomplishments on missions and recently against the Akatsuki threat. However, the civilians still hated him for the Ichibi sealed within him by the Sandaime Hokage 8 years ago. Unlike with Naruto, however, Jiraiya went out of his way in order to look after Konohamaru along with the young man's family. The Sarutobi clan wasn't the largest clan in the world, however. It was perhaps the most versatile for its capacity to produce geniuses such as Sarutobi Hiruzen, a man who became the Sandaime Hokage and was renowned as the Professor, his son, Sarutobi Asuma, and of course the Ichibi Jinchuriki, Sarutobi Konohamaru. What made him feel uneasy was the fact that Kisame had come after him alone instead of in a pair like previously seen. Even if Itachi was killed by Sasuke, Kisame should have been assigned a new partner to hunt Konohamaru with. However, this didn't seem to be the case. The answer to that came from his spy network, which reported that Mangekyo no Sato, the village that was rumored to be the headquarters of the Akatsuki, was attacked and destroyed. It appeared that someone or something had reduced the entire village to a crater and wiped out most of the population. For one long agonizing moment, he thought that a fully reformed Kyuubi no Yoko was responsible. The Kyuubi was known to be a walking natural disaster that hunted down and destroyed places filled with malice. As the headquarters of an organization that was actively hunting down and capturing its brothers and sisters, AIM would have been a very tempting target. Judging by the fact that the captured Biju hadn't been released and destroyed half the continent yet, he would wager that the Akatsuki leader had no doubt escaped AIM's destruction with them. If that was the case, then the Kyuubi would continue to hunt him or her down before turning its attention on Konoha in revenge for both its imprisonment inside Naruto and the Ichibi's sealing in Konohamaru. That's when the next report from his spy network came in. "Why, you're just joking around. Aren't you Hokage-sama?" asked Haruno Sakura with a rather pale face. There's no way, that's impossible. It's the truth," Jiraiya confirmed, for once completely serious. Uchiha Sasuke survived his battle against his brother and has joined the Akatsuki. He's captured the Hachibi Jinchuriki, and the Raikage is angry that his brother was taken. He's organizing a summit of the 5 Kage and is requesting that we submit all information we have on Sasuke, marking him as a nuke-nin. "Why would he do this?" Konohamaru asked in surprise. "His brother was in the Akatsuki, so why would he join them?" "I don't know," Jiraiya replied. "If he really has joined the Akatsuki, then he's going to be coming after you to get the Ichibi." "Damn it!" Konohamaru cursed as his fists clenched at his side. "I know that fighting and killing your enemies is one thing, but facing someone who was once a comrade is a lot harder." "I know that better than anyone," Jiraiya told them. After what happened with Orochimaru, he knew what it was like to confront someone he had once considered his friend. "But if Sasuke really has joined the Akatsuki, then I want all of you to face him as if he were an enemy. Don't let your personal feelings cloud your judgment." "But Hokage-sama," Sakura stammered through her tears. "That's an order," Jiraiya added. "Understood, Hokage-sama," Kakashi nodded. "Your orders." You and Konohamaru will accompany me to the Kage Summit in the Land of Iron, Jiraiya continued. It's about time we found out exactly what the other nations have been doing since this all started. Land of Iron, frozen forest. The snow had stopped falling about half an hour ago as the Hokage and his two escorts, Kakashi and Konohamaru, walked at a civilian pace towards a large castle-like structure with three heads shaped in the distance. Their journey here had been uninterrupted, however Jiraiya had felt uneasy ever since they'd left Konoha, and now, despite the fact that he could see their destination in the distance, he stopped walking, causing his escorts to halt as well. Hokage-sama, Kakashi inquired as he lifted his headband to reveal his Sharingan. Wait for my order, Jiraiya told him as two shadows appeared in front of them and seemed to be walking calmly in their direction. I told you I could find them. A young female voice spoke, though he didn't recognize it. Never doubt my abilities again. Whatever. Now that voice he recognized. Tsunade, Jiraiya inquired as the two stepped out from the shadow and into the light. My spy network said you disappeared years ago, so what are you doing here? Hello Jiraiya, Tsunade responded. I wish I could say that it's good to see you, but I'd be lying if I did. What is this? Jiraiya questioned with narrowed eyes. Isn't it obvious? The redhead at Tsunade's side asked back. The Akatsuki are after the Biju, and that means they're after the Ichibi brat over there. She nodded towards Konohamaru. We're here to kill him to buy more time. I'm not going to let that happen. Jiraiya countered, only for his eyes to widen at the sight of Karen's Dojutsu. The Rinnegan? How? So you recognize these eyes too? Karen mused. Twice in one lifetime? Maybe she killed Nagato and took it from him? I'd better take this seriously then, Jiraiya thought as he formed a hand seal. Rindan, Sunashigure. A male voice echoed as sand descended from above and bombarded the area where Tsunade and Karen were standing. Kazekage Dano? What are you doing here? Jiraiya inquired as Gaara and his siblings landed beside them. Proving my existence, Gaara replied as he stared impassively at the dust cloud that had formed from his previous attack. So we meet again, the Kazekage, huh? You've certainly come a long way from that pathetic excuse of a Jinchuriki, Karen commented. You know this guy? Tsunade asked the red-haired woman at her side. I defeated him and the other two 8 years ago. I even resurrected him after removing the Ichibi from him, Karen answered before turning her attention to the Kazekage. You should be thanking me for that, by the way. I hear that the life of a Jinchuriki is a terrible one. Resurrection, Gaara mused. You ended my existence back then. So why did you bring me back? Someone asked me too, Karen shrugged in response. Who? Gaara questioned further. You don't need to know. Karen dismissed him and turned towards the current Ichibi Jinchuriki. Surrender and I may even resurrect you after we kill the Ichibi. Like I'd trust you, Konohamaru glared back. Suit yourself. Tsunade shrugged and dashed forward with his fist clenched and ready. She vanished in a burst of speed and reappeared above the Konoha and Suna ninja. Tsutenkyaku, she called out as her legs swung down and her heels struck the down on the ground, upturning the earth and forcing them to scatter. Why are you doing this, Tsunade? Jiraiya shouted to her as he landed a chunk of upturned earth a few feet away. Konoha took everything from me, Tsunade replied. They betrayed my family and then spat on their legacy. For that alone, I have the right to destroy it and end this cycle of hatred. Betrayed? Cycle of hatred? What happened to you, Tsunade? Jiraiya asked almost pleadingly. You of all people should be able to understand, Tsunade shot back. Wasn't it your last student who sacrificed himself for the village as its Hokage, and he was betrayed and his son used as the scapegoat for the hatred that came with the Kyuubi's attack? Is that what this is about? Jiraiya yelled as he formed a series of hand seals. You think I abandoned my godson to that life? He slammed his hand down on the ground and a large-toed Sakazuki-like shield and a Susumita in his hands appeared in an explosion of smoke. Kuchios no Jutsu. Jiraiya? Where am I? It's cold. The large toad shivered as its weight crushed the ground it stood on. Eyes front, Gamekin. Jiraiya spoke clearly. I need you to buy some time. Just remember, Gamekin responded as he readied his Samusita. I'm a bit clumsy. I'm going to use Sage Mode, Jiraiya told him. Why you don't mean dash Gamakan stammered. Sage mode huh? Karen mused. Chikashoto. Kuchios no jutsu. She whispered as her hands struck the ground and seals spread out over its snowy surface. A moment later, a large rhino, a dog with several heads, a chameleon and a brown bull appeared in an explosion of smoke. She can summon? Kankuro asked in surprise. I don't remember her doing that the last time we met her. Futon. Okakimi. Tamari exclaimed as she swung with her fan, creating a concentrated blast of wind at the Yukinins, and Kankuro sent 3 large puppets to attack. Katan. Gukakyu no jutsu. Kakashi called out as he unleashed a large fireball from his mask-covered mouth to add to the wind jutsu. Pitiful, Karen commented with some disdain as she raised her hand. Gakido. Fujitsu Kyuin. She muttered as the wind-fire combination jutsu was absorbed into her barrier. Shurato, she said as she quickly swung her other arm round and unleashed a volley of missiles from her wrist that quickly intercepted and destroyed the puppets. I thought I taught you once before just how far beneath me you are. Infuin. Kai. Tsunade spoke clearly as the jewel on her forehead dissolved and chakra flooded her system. Sozo Seze. She added as seals spread across her forehead and down the side of her face. I've been told many times that I'm not on my grandfather's level, however, I inherited his will of fire, something you all have forsaken. Shuriken Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Konohamaru yelled as he threw a shuriken at her, which quickly became 20. So you're Sarutobi-sensei's grandson? Tsunade mused as she dodged the volley of shuriken, though one grazed her cheek. Surely you can do better than that? She asked as the cut on her cheek healed in a matter of seconds. Meanwhile, Karen had jumped inside the chameleon's mouth, and it had camouflaged itself as the rest of her summons had forced the assembled Konoha and Tsunanines to scatter. The chameleon landed beside Kankuro, and Karen jumped out of its mouth right at the eldest of the 3 Sand siblings. Kankuro gasped in surprise as Karen latched onto his head with her hand and pulled, ripping his very soul from his body with one move. Ninjendo. Kyukan no Jutsu. Karen whispered as the now-deceased Kankuro crumbled to the floor. Kankuro! Tamari shouted in horror at the sight. Ryusa Bakuryu! Gaara started as sand exploded up from the ground behind him and washed over the battlefield like a wave. This is... Karen trailed off as the sand engulfed her. Sabaka Taiso! Gaara concluded as his fist clenched. Tendo! Shinra Tensei! Karen called out as gravity rippled and the sand was repelled away with incredible force. Not bad. You've gotten better since the last time we fought. Raikiri! Kakashi exclaimed from behind Tsunade, impaling her through the back with his lightning-covered hand. My apologizes, Tsunade-sama, but I cannot allow you to threaten Konoha anymore, he said as the lightning died down and he pulled his hand out. Shut your mouth, kid. Tsunade shot back as she turned and delivered a fatal punch right to the Kapinin's midsection, sending him crashing into the upturned rock. Byakugo no Jutsu. She spoke clearly as seals spread out further and reached every corner of her body. As long as my jutsu is active, I cannot die, she declared as she kicked Gamaken away, sending the giant toad flying over the battlefield until it crashed down into the snowy forest further away. Rendan. Tsunashigure. Gaara muttered as he gathered more sand and started firing it in volley as the quickly approaching Karen. Gakido. Fujitsu Kyuin. Karen said with her hand raised as she ran, allowing her barrier to absorb most of the sand attacks. She closed the distance and thrust her hand forward, right at Gaara, only to hit a wall of sand. Gakido. Fujitsu Kyuin. She quickly drained the chakra from the sand wall, and along with the remaining chakra that Gaara had left. Ninja dash. She started only for her senses to register a blur appearing above her. Senpo. Cho Udama Rasengan. Jiraiya called out as he descended upon her with a massive spiraling sphere in hand. That's... Karen trailed off as she backed away from the now drained Gaara and held up her hand to counter the oncoming assault. Gakido. Fujitsu Kyuin. She whispered as her barrier came into direct contact with the chakra ball and quickly absorbed it. That's a pretty interesting ability you've got there, Jiraiya commented as he landed a few feet in front of her. His appearance had changed, becoming more toad-like with a larger nose, warts and yellow eyes with horizontal bars for pupils. Riding on his shoulders were a pair of elderly toads, one male and one female judging by their appearance. Jiraiya boy, why have you summoned us? Fukasaku questioned from the man's right shoulder. And why are you using this form? I thought you hated it because of its effects on the ladies or something like that. Take a look at who we are facing, Jiraiya replied, even though he never took his eyes off of the red-headed woman in front of him. Since I'm up against the Rinnegan, I can't afford to hold back. The sage's eyes? Shima started in surprise. I thought they were a myth. Please, lend me your strength, Jiraiya requested as the ground seemed to break and shatter around him. This chakra, Karen thought as she narrowed her eyes. There's no doubt about it. This is just like Naruto's sage mode. All together, Fukasaku shouted as the two toads and their summoner took a deep breath and formed a hand seal. Senpo, Gomen! The three breathed out, unleashing a massive blast of wind, fire and oil in a wave-like stream at the red-haired woman. That's too much, Karen muttered as she brought her hands up and absorbed the oncoming attack. Gakido, Fujitsu Kyuin. Her senses kicked in as Jiraiya appeared behind her. The first attack was just a distraction. Senpo, Kabari Senbon. Jiraiya called out as he dropped to all fours and unleashed a barrage of needle-like projectiles from his hair. Tendo, Shinra Tensei, Karen whispered as she repelled the volley and jumped away from her opponent. She couldn't have seen us, Fukasaku commented. We were in her blind spot the entire time. I think she's a censor, Shima suggested. I've been trying to keep her chakra pinpointed ever since we arrived, but it keeps disappearing like she's somehow masking it. Not even the best censors are able to do that, Jiraiya mused. Tendo, Chibaku Tensei, Karen called out as her hand formed a triangle seal. A small black gravity orb appeared in the center and she threw it up into the sky where it quickly shone down a ray of light on the world below. What is this? Jiraiya asked as gravity shifted around him and started pulling the very earth itself skyward, rapidly creating a small moon. Your end, Karen answered. Kamui, Kakashi rasped out as he channeled the last of his strength into his Mangekyo Sharingan. Space and time distorted in the center of the new moon before it grew too big and sucked in the gravity ball. With nothing acting to hold it up, the gathered chunks of rock fell down and bombarded the land in debris. Sensei, Rin Abito. I'm sorry. I'll be there soon, he thought as the last of his strength left him. Damn it! Jiraiya cursed as felt the last of Kakashi's chakra fade away. So you were even able to destroy my Chibaku Tensei, Karen mused. You Konoha ninja really are something, but that won't save you here, she commented as Tsunade landed at her side. This ends now, Jiraiya declared. There has been enough pain and death today. For crimes against Konoha and Suna, I will stop you both here. Megan, Gamma Rinsho, Fukasaku and Shima called out as they sang. As the sound echoed across the battlefield, Tsunade and Karen found themselves inside a water-like cube, surrounded on all sides by 4 giant toad samurai. This is a genjutsu, Karen cursed as she tried to break it only to find that she couldn't move. Well played, Jiraiya, Tsunade cursed. Goodbye, Tsunade. Jiraiya spoke softly as a pair of stone swords formed in his hands and walked closer to finish them off. Hiraishin no Jutsu, a voice whispered as Naruto appeared between the two Yukinins and promptly slapped both of them upside the head, breaking the genjutsu that they were under. That jutsu. Jiraiya trailed off, suddenly very pale. Menmakuin? Karen asked as she shook herself. You're going to pay for that, she added as she rubbed the back of her head. I want both of you to withdraw, Naruto told them. The situation has changed. How? Tsunade asked, confused. The Akatsuki attacked Konoha and killed Danzo. It looks like Tobi was after Shirsue's Mangekyo Sharingan that the old war hawk took, Naruto replied. The eye was destroyed, so we don't have to worry about it, but he's preparing for something big. Damn, Karen cursed. So what now? This is no longer just some skirmishes between our two groups, Naruto replied. The 4th Great Shinobi War has begun. Let's get out of here, Karen spoke finally. I won't let you escape, Jiraiya shouted as he lunged at the 3. Hiraishin no Jutsu, Naruto said clearly as he grabbed the 2 women at his side and disappeared in a yellow flash. Damn it! Jiraiya yelled as he struck the earth without enough force to smash it open. That was definitely Minato's jutsu, but who are these people and why is Tsunade with them? I need to find out what happened in Konoha and I still need to meet with the other Kages. Shit. I need answers, not more questions. Land of Spring, Yuki/meeting room. The 5 major villages have joined together to create some kind of alliance against us and the Akatsuki, though they have no idea where either of us are based. Anoka explained as they all sat around a large round table in the center of the room. I still can't believe that old fence-sitter of Akatsuki would agree to something like this, Tsunade commented. The same with that fool of a Raikage. The 5 major villages have all lost their Jinchuriki besides Konoha, so they're all weakened, Karen reasoned. They're afraid of what people like the Akatsuki can do with the full power of 7 Biju under their control. I still don't get what the Akatsuki want with the Biju, Tsunade brought up. I mean, what's their endgame? They've been sealing them inside of some kind of demonic statue, Naruto answered. According to the Kyubi, it's the physical remains of a creature, once known as the Aim no Hitatsu no Kami, also called the Jubi. The Jubi? There's something with more power than the Kyubi. Tsunade asked, suddenly growing slightly pale. Apparently, the Rakuto Sennin fought and defeated the Jubi before sealing it within himself, becoming the first Jinchuriki. He then created the moon to act as a prison for its physical remains and sealed it away, though it seems someone has broken the seal and summoned the statue. If Obito is able to fully resurrect the Jubi, then this world will end, Naruto explained. Or at least that's what the Kyubi keeps telling me. There has to be more to it than that. Tsunade spoke with a shake of her head. There's nothing to be gained by reviving something like that. I agree, Naruto nodded. But Obito's plan doesn't matter. We're going to stop him once and for all. The Hokage has been chosen to lead the Shinobi Alliance, as they're calling it, and right now they're setting up a headquarters in Kumo. I've also been tracking the Ichibi Jinchuriki, Anoka continued. He's being sent to some kind of moving island deep in the Land of Lightning. Apparently there's some kind of temple there that the former Hachibi Jinchuriki used to gain control of his Biju in a similar manner that you did with the Kyubi Naruto-kun. Konohamaru, huh? He's grown a lot over the years, Naruto said with a small smile. I wouldn't mind fighting him now. The Akatsuki are gathering their forces for a full-scale assault on the Land of Lightning in order to acquire the Ichibi, Anoka added. Their numbers stand at about 100,000, while the Shinobi Alliance forces have roughly 80,000. There hasn't been a war on this scale since the founding era. Tsunade whistled at the numbers. And what are we going to do about this? Anoka, Karen, Tsunade awaken. Come with me, Naruto finally said as he stood up. Land of Lightning, Turtle Island/Jinchuriki Temple. The Kage Summit had been one massive nightmare for all involved, with the deaths of Kakashi and the Kazekage's older brother, not to mention the recent attack on Konoha by the Akatsuki. The 5 main shinobi villages had banded together to face what they perceived as a threat to the world in the form of the 2 groups that seemingly had the power and the will to directly challenge them. One of the groups boasted 7 of the 9 Biju, and the other had someone with the Rinnegan, making her most likely the descendant of the Rakuto Sennin, a man regarded as the founder of the shinobi world. As a Jinchuriki, Konohamaru was a weapon of war, and with the strange masked man they had encountered declaring a 4th great shinobi war, the young Sarutobi would no doubt be deployed onto the battlefield. To that end, Jiraiya had ordered several medic means to implant Kakashi's Mangekyo Sharingan into his left eye socket, and then sent Konohamaru along with several shinobi as his guards to an island deep within the Land of Lightning. From what he'd heard, this was the place where the former Hachibi Jinchuriki learned to control his Biju, and the main reason he'd been given Kakashi's Sharingan after the man was killed was to better aid him in gaining control of the Ichibi within him. Is this the place? Konohamaru asked as they stepped into a clearing with a waterfall. This is it, Motoi replied with a nod. The Kumanin had been tasked with being his guide while he was on the island. It's called the Waterfall of Truth. And this is where the Hachibi Jinchuriki learned to control his Biju? Konohamaru asked further as he gazed at the beautiful waterfall in front of him. No, Motoi denied. This is just the first step. He then gestured towards the small island in the middle of the shallow water at the base of the waterfall. Sit here and close your eyes, Konohamaru. If you do that, you'll be able to see the truth. Okay. Konohamaru nodded and walked over the small island and sat in its center. Let's get started. It was time for him to confront his darkness. Land of Fire, Uzumaki Temple. It doesn't look like anyone's been here for years, Naruto commented. You mean decades, Tsunade countered. It's crumbling down. Anoka trailed off. I know it's pretty far away from Konoha, but I was expecting it to be in better condition than this. Konoha tried to erase all knowledge of the Uzumaki clan, Tsunade gritted out. Of course they'd leave this place to rot. They did the same with my mom and dad's old house. It hasn't been touched since Obito used the Kyuubi to attack Konoha, Naruto added as they stepped inside. Which one is it? Karen asked the question as they stood before a wall with dozens of masks placed on it. Let's see. Somewhere. Anoka mused before holding out her Yuzu no Tsurugi. Here it is. She nodded as her sword drew close to one of the masks and started to leak chakra that the mask drew in. It's kinda creepy, Karen commented. I'd better make this quick then, Naruto said as he took the mask and brought it to his face. Stand back. They did as told, and the moment the mask made contact with his face, the familiar and terrifying spiritual pressure of the Shinigami appeared behind him with its arms spread out. Unlike the Shiki Fujin, which requires forming a contract with the Shinigami in order to use its power, Anoka explained. The Shinigami's mask was created by our clan to break those contracts at the cost of the user's life by allowing the Shinigami to possess the user's body. I thought Jinchuriki couldn't summon the Shinigami? Tsunade inquired, intrigued. Jinchuriki can't use the Shiki Fujin because they have two souls in their bodies and can't enter a contract because of that, Anoka continued. Using the mask, on the other hand, doesn't require any sort of contract. Kurama. Naruto thought as the Shinigami brought its knife down and stabbed itself, creating the same wound on Naruto's body. Give me a second, the Kyuubi replied as he flooded his host system with his chakra to heal the damage. Main chakra is returning. In a few minutes, I'll be back at full power again. You're welcome. Naruto smiled slightly as his wound healed completely. You're lucky you have the Kyuubi to deal with that kind of thing, Tsunade commented. I'd have to resort to my kenjutsu to heal from something like that. Let's grab everything not bolted down and leave before Konoha takes notice of our presence. Naruto as he removed the mask, dispelling the Shinigami. Land of Lightning. Turtle Island / Jinchuriki Temple. Fighting his darkness wasn't the answer he'd been looking for, but in the end, he was able to accept that part of him despite the lingering hatred he felt towards his grandfather and the village that had scorned him for so long. After accepting his darkness at the waterfall, Motoi had led Konohamaru inside the temple and brought him to the same room that Karabi had used to confront and tame the Hachibi back in his youth. Konohamaru sat down in the center of the white room while Motoi closed the door, effectively locking him in just in case he lost the fight and Shikaku was released. It was time to face the Achibi. So you've finally come here, huh? Ha 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 ha. Shikaku laughed with an insane glint in its demonic eyes. I'm going to kill you. Your blood will go everywhere when I crush you with my sand. You really are insane, aren't you? Konohamaru asked sadly as he stared at the sand demon before him. For what it's worth, I'm sorry that you've turned out like this. Just die. Shikaku half snarled, half laughed as it banged on the cage door that separated them. There's no use talking to you? Konohamaru sighed as he walked over to the cage door and removed the paper that covered the actual seal. You lost your grasp on reality a long time ago, he said as he stepped back and brought the key to the seal, turning it and caused the seal to unravel. Ha 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 ha. I want your blood. The Achibi no Tanuki roared as he slammed the cage doors open and unleashed a wave of sand through the chamber. Shit! Konohamaru cursed as he jumped onto the ceiling and closed his uncovered eye. Senjutsu. Sanin Moto. His eye snapped open a few seconds later. His right eye turned yellow as red rings formed around them and the pupils elongated into horizontal bars. Futon. Rankuden. Shikaku bellowed as he unleashed a series of large wind blasts at its Jinchuriki. This guy won't let up, Konohamaru thought as he brought his hand up to uncover his left eye. Here we go. His new Sharingan spun wildly as he tracked the massive wind bullets and jumped high in order to dodge them. Just die already. Shikaku shouted as he started gathering red and blue demonic chakra orbs to his mouth and compressing it into a single black sphere. Damn! Konohamaru cursed as he pushed more chakra into his eye, forcing his Sharingan to shift into its Mangekyo form. By Jidama! Shikaku roared as the sphere exploded forwards in a beam of golden light. Senpo, Kamui! Konohamaru exclaimed as space and time started to distort in front of him. Unlike the regular Kamui that Kakashi had used when he was alive, Konohamaru's mastery of the sage arts increased the sheer power and scale of his jutsu beyond that of any normal man. That's why when Kakashi had used this jutsu, it would only create a small vortex the size of the eye itself and could only draw in something the size of a person. However, with his sage mode powering it, the vortex that Konohamaru could create was 10 times bigger and was 3 times more powerful. Because of this, Shikaku's attack slammed into the vortex without exploding and was sucked in until there was nothing left. What? The Ichibi screamed in outrage at the sight of his strongest attack disappear before his eyes. Damn you, Kage Bunshin no Jutsu! Konohamaru whispered as a pair of clones popped into existence at his side and immediately started gathering chakra to his hand, forming a spinning fireball. Katan, go in Rasengan! He called out as he threw the handheld fireball at the sand demon. What is this power? Shikaku yelled as the attack slammed into him and exploded in a column of fire. He screamed as the heat quickly turned his body of sand to glass before the column died down, revealing his form before it shattered, causing his chakra to drift away. It's over, Konohamaru whispered as he grabbed the loose chakra and pulled it into his own body. The chakra turned from gold to red as it encased his form, taking the shape of a raccoon-like creature of bubbling demonic energy. He sighed as he dispelled the chakra and brought the key seal on his arm to the one on his stomach and turned it. A series of torii appeared from above and pinned the reconstructing Ichibi to the floor before forming a cage around the sand demon. I'll make you pay for this. I swear I'll kill you, Shikaku shouted in anger. Someone who has long since lost their mind has no bearing on my life, Konohamaru responded as he felt his sage mode dissipate. I want to help you, he said as a 4-pointed shuriken-like pattern formed over his regular Mangekyo Sharingan. Koto Amatsukami, Land of Spring, Yuki/Central Tower. Well, what's the news? Karen asked as she sat down in her chair. The Akatsuki have been using some kind of clones grown from my grandfather's cells. Tsunade began with no small amount of disgust. These Zetsu are what makes up the bulk of the Akatsuki army, though they are admittedly weak compared to my grandfather, even if they are a match for regular ninja. They lost half of their numbers in the first day and only killed 20,000 Alliance ninja, Anoka continued. However, during the night these Zetsu seemed to have absorbed the chakra from those that were fighting during the day in order to transform into Alliance ninja. I guess this isn't a regular henge you're talking about? Karen inquired. They're able to copy a person down to their chakra, Anoka replied. They snuck into Alliance camps and started assassinating people all across the border. There's no way to detect them? Karen asked, looking a bit worried at that. What about Sensornin? Memakuin could probably sense them with his ability to detect negative emotions, but a regular chakra sensor wouldn't work, Anoka answered. The Alliance lost another 20,000 during the night, and that's when they were deployed to the battlefields. They? Karen questioned. My granduncle created a kinjutsu called Edo Tensei, Tsunade explained. It allows people to bring someone back to life at the cost of another's life, though it's a hollow existence, since the one that's summoned is nothing but a puppet for the summoner to control, and is practically nothing but a moving corpse. A jutsu like that shouldn't have been created, Karen said in disgust as she remembered the last time she had come across that technique. When those summoned by Edo Tensei were deployed, the Kages were forced to call a retreat and pulled their forces back to Kumo. Among those summoned were the 7 shinobi swordsmen of the mist and the former Kages. Anoka continued. Hashirama-sama? Karen asked, now worried. Not yet, though. I think that's because the summoner has been having a bit of trouble controlling the Third Hokage when he was summoned to the battlefield, Anoka replied. Or he's being kept in reserve, Naruto suggested. Or that, Anoka nodded. So what do we do now? Karen asked the question. I'm going to Kumo, Naruto finally answered. I'll leave the Edo Tensei to you. Land of Lightning, Kumo. Chikashoto, Kuchios no Jutsu. Obito spoke with an edge as 7 figures were summoned to his side in explosions of smoke. 6 of these figures were his new 6 paths of pain, 6 of the former Jinchuriki, courteous of the Rinnegan he had collected from Nagato and transplanted into his left eye socket. The 7th figure was his young apprentice, Uchiha Sasuke, whom had recently infiltrated Konoha and killed Danzo, along with the village elders for their involvement in the Uchiha clan massacre. Kumo was arguably the most militaristic shinobi village on the continent, with IWA coming in a close second, and had even gone as far kidnapped attempts and blackmail to increase its own power. Despite that, Kumo alone could never hope to fight against the force that was launching a direct attack on the village without support from the other nations. Thousands of white Zetsu clones were swarming into the village, killing and destroying everything and everyone in their path, with dozens of Edo Tensei ninja right behind them, including their former Sandame Reikage, whom was considered to be the strongest Reikage ever. "This will all end today," Obito commented as he gazed out over the burning village. "HN," Sasuke sneered as 5 figures landed in front of them. "The 5 Kage," Obito mused as he looked down at them. "Do you see now how hopeless and useless this world really is? Do you know despair? Shut up," he shouted in anger. "You'll pay for this and for what you did to my brother and Yujito." "Uchiha Madara," Inoki said with a glare. "Long ago I lost myself because of you, but from here on I'll pick myself up and stop making excuses." "We're going to stop you here," Terumi Mei declared. "You've caused a lot of pain to a lot of people," Jiraiya said clearly. "All that matters now is not one more. Your end is here," Gaara proclaimed calmly. "To think I'd see the day that the 5 Kage would stand together as one." Inoki smirked at the sight. "5 Kage or not, you are no match for the Uchiha." Sasuke spoke as he stepped forward. "Sasuke?" Jiraiya asked in surprise. "And I know the truth about what Konoha did to my clan," Sasuke responded. "Danzo and the elders confirmed everything before I killed them." "You!" Jiraiya trailed off with narrowed eyes. "Let's go Mizukage Dano," he yelled as his Raiton no Yoroi exploded to life. "All right." Mei nodded and took a deep breath. "Yotan, Shakigaryugen no Jutsu," she exclaimed as a large stream of lava shot from her mouth at the 2 Uchiha. "Yotan, Yokai no Jutsu," bellowed the Yambi Jinchuriki as several large lava spheres shot from his mouth and slammed into Mei's lava stream. "That's..." Inoki trailed off as his eyes widened. "I recognize them. That's Rashi and Han." "Yujito." He gritted his teeth upon recognizing his former subordinate. "They're all Jinchuriki," Mei said, trying to remain calm. "Even Yagura is here." "Kamui!" A yell was heard as space and time started to twist and distort around Obito's head. "This is..." Obito thought as his own space-time technique canceled out its effects. "Jikuken Ito," he whispered as he saw Konohamaru land beside the Kage. "Sarutobi Konohamaru, the Ichibi Jinchuriki. So you've actually taken that eye for yourself, huh?" "Konohamaru." Sasuke appeared angry at this development. "You dare desecrate my clan like this? First Kakashi, then Danzo, and now you." "Sasuke," Konohamaru said with an almost sad tone. "You really didn't learn anything from Naruto Nissen, did you? Never mention that shinobi's name in my presence." Sasuke glared hatefully at his former teammate. "Since it's the 5 Kage and a Jinchuriki, I think it's best if I don't hold back." Obito mused as 6 columns of black and red chakra exploded at his side. What?" Jiraiya stammered as he was blown back. "That's..." Mei trailed off at the sight, having remembered the last time she saw something like this from Yagura years ago. "They've entered their version 2 forms," he gritted out in anger. The 6 Jinchuriki were now encased in dense red and black chakra that blocked out their bodies from view. Each had a different numbers of tails ranging from 2 to 7, and all of them had disguisable features such as Han's hat or Fu's beetle-like chakra horn. However, all of them had the same black chakra masks covering their faces and white eyes like a deep void of emptiness that sent chills down the Kage's spine. "Kill them." Obito gave the order, and the 6 Jinchuriki launched themselves at the assembled Kage and Ichibi Jinchuriki. "Doton, Garimu no Jutsu," Inoki called out as he created a large stone golem between them, and a second later Gaara added his sand, augmenting the stone golem. "Kirigakure no Jutsu," Mei yelled as she blanketed the area in mist. "Go! They're trying to reduce our sight," Sasuke mused. "It looks like they learned a few things from Kakashi." "Do it now, Tsuchikage," he yelled as he grabbed the eldest Kage and like a bolt of lightning shot them high into the air. Jintan. Genkai Hikuri no Jutsu. Inoki exclaimed as a glowing cube of chakra appeared in his hands and he shot it right at the two Uchiha. It's useless, Obito commented as he raised his hand towards the oncoming attack. Gakido, Fujitsu Kyuin, he said quietly as the beam-like attack was quickly absorbed. What? Inoki shouted in surprise. No one had ever outright blocked his Jintan before. Sure, Hiruzen had always used misdirection to evade it, and that blasted Yondaime Hokage just teleported away, but no one had done that to his jutsu before. Enough of this! Konohamaru yelled as he exploded with crimson chakra. Konohamaru! Jiraiya yelled in worry. He's releasing the Ichibi's chakra? That's... Sasuke trailed off as a fully formed Ichibi no Tanuki stood, where Konohamaru had once been with the young Sarutobi standing atop its head. He actually gained full control of that beast. Impressive, Obito commented. But it's not enough. Yotan, Kakazan, the demonic Rashi called out as a large flower of lava exploded from under the Ichibi. Senjutsu, Sanin Moto, Konohamaru muttered as his right eye changed, signifying his transition into Sage mode. Senpo, Kamui, he exclaimed as a vortex formed and sucked in the large amount of lava. Senjutsu really is frightening, Obito thought at the sight. To increase the power of my jutsu to such a degree. No wonder Madara said that it put Hashirama on another level. Watch it! It's the Gobi! Mei yelled as Han suddenly fully transformed into the much larger five-tailed demon. I've had enough of you! Shikaku yelled with his own mouth, much to everyone's surprise, as he grabbed the Gobi's horns before he was impaled. Is that the Ichibi? Inoki asked in wonder. Yes, it is, Gaara nodded. But it didn't sound like the one I used to know. You dare use us like we're your pets? I'm going to kill you, Shikaku roared as he shifted his weight and threw the Gobi to the side. I'll deal with this, Sasuke spoke up as he landed in front of the sand demon. Susanoo, he said clearly as the massive skeletal construct encased his form and grew to a height that rivaled the Ichibi. Very well, Obito nodded. I'll deal with the Kage first. The Gobi then charged forward before it turned and tried to attack him. Damn it! He cursed as he felt his control slip for a second and was forced to throw out a chakra chain that embedded itself in a small chakra rod on the beast's body. Geto, Chikura Kasari, he said as he quickly suppressed the Gobi until it had reverted back to its version 2 form. It hurts? I can't lose against him. The Gobi gritted out as Obito retracted the chakra chain. Did the Gobi just attack him? Mei asked in surprise. It's incredibly difficult to control a Biju, Gaara reasoned. And the Biju themselves hate being considered pets. Forcefully controlling 6 of the Biju with just Jujitsu must require a lot of chakra, Jiraiya mused. Senjutsu, Sanin Moto, he muttered as the ground cracked around him and the renowned 2 elders appeared on his shoulders. Jiraiya boy? It's about time you called us, Fukasaku said. The fate of the world is hanging in the balance and you wait until now to call on us? What's wrong with you? Shima chastised. I'll apologize later, Jiraiya responded. Let's do this, he said as he launched himself right at the 6th Jinchuriki and Obito. Senpo, Cho Udama Rasengan. I told you it's useless, Obito said again as he stood his ground even though he had his 6th Jinchuriki pull back. He simply phased through the attack even after it exploded in a torrent of chakra which leveled a good chunk of the surrounding village. This will take years to rebuild, he gritted out at seeing his ally destroy a part of his village. I'm done playing this little game. An unharmed Obito spoke up after the dust had cleared. This time it's 2, he said as both the Yanbi and Rokubi Jinchuriki fully transformed into their Biju. 2 of them at once now? Mei thought with growing worry. My father once fought the Hachibi by himself, he reassured. We can beat him. Sanson! The Rokubi bellowed as a large stream of acid shot out of its mouth. Again Kazekage, Inoki yelled as he created another stone golem to defend against the acid stream. Doton, Garimu no Jutsu, it's not enough, Gaara called back as against his sand augmented the golem against the Rokubi's attack. I won't let you destroy my village, he yelled as he punched the Yanbi in the face, knocking it back. I think it's about time that I wrap this up, Obito mused as both of the Yanbi and Rokubi pulled back to his side. Do it! He gave the order and they started gather red and blue chakra spheres to their mouths. They're going to use that? Here. Jiraiya's eyes widened at the sight of the now black chakra spheres held in the two beasts' mouths. Shit! Inoki cursed. By Jidama! Obito called out as the two chakra spheres fired at the Kage, and two domes of light sprang up in the center of the village. Amaterasu! Sasuke whispered as black flames shot from his eyes at the Ichibi Jinchuriki, standing atop his Biju's head. What happened to you, Sasuke? Konohamaru questioned as sand rose up and intercepted the black fire. Why did you become a traitor and abandon everyone that cared about you? You live in ignorance of your clan's crimes against mine, so I will tell you before I take your life. Sasuke sneered at him. Your grandfather and his old teammates, the elders of the village, ordered my brother to slaughter my clan. What? Konohamaru asked in surprise. You've got to be lying. There's no way that my grandfather would give such an order. This is the same man that allowed Naruto to be treated like a pariah, and he is the same man that sealed the Ichibi in you. For the good of the village, Sasuke said the last part mockingly. How many atrocities have been committed for the good of the village? I wonder. I admit that there are things that Konoha has done that I don't agree with. Konohamaru paused for a moment before continuing. But I don't think what you're doing is the answer. Sasuke scoffed. I will destroy Konoha and your clan for its crimes against me and my family. Then we really have nothing left to say to each other, Konohamaru said before narrowing his eyes. Do it now, Shikaku. By Jidama! Shikaku bellowed as the chakra sphere it had been charging fired in a beam of light that washed over Sasuke and his Susanoo. I won't be killed that easily. Sasuke shouted as he was pushed back and felt his Susanoo shatter under the attack. Damn! He cursed as the blast died down. Katan, Goen Rasengan. Konohamaru called out from above as he threw a handheld fireball down at the disoriented Uchiha. It exploded in a column of fire upon contact as the young Sarutobi landed back on the Ichibi's head, breathing hard. He'd been pushing the Ichibi's chakra for a while now as well as his sage mode and was finally feeling the strain from overusing both powers. Did we get him? He asked as he tried to slowly recharge his sage chakra. I think we wasted him. Shikaku laughed. Not quite. Obito's voice sounded from the smoke as it cleared to reveal him standing beside a battered, but still very much alive Uchiha Sasuke. You? But? Konohamaru asked with mounting horror. Where are the Kage? Them? They're dead, Obito replied. He killed them. This masked guy had killed those that were considered the 5 strongest ninja in the world. What the hell could he do against that kind of power? Damn you! Konohamaru growled out. Do you know despair now? Obito asked. It no longer matters. This world will end soon, and when it does I'll create another one of my design, where there will be no more anger, hatred, or envy. Amidst the debris that made up the battlefield that was Kumo, laid a mortally wounded Jiraiya with the other 4 Kages all around him who was bleeding a lot from his stomach. Jiraiya boy. Fukasaku gasped the elder toad as he crawled over to the man. Are you all right, Pa? Jiraiya rasped out. Yes. Fukasaku nodded. I sent Shima home before the last attack hit us. He shakily stood. I dare say that if we weren't in sage mode at the time, we would be dead. And the others? Jiraiya asked. They didn't make it. Fukasaku shook his head. I want you to go to Konohamaru. Tell him to run. Don't let the Akatsuki get the itchy. Bye. Jiraiya gasped out before closing his eyes and falling into his eternal sleep. And so ends the Shinobi Alliance. It's over, Obito declared as all 6 of his Jinchuriki paths landed beside him in their version 2 forms. Surrender the Ichibi to me or I will take it from you by force. Why would you even protect it? It's caused you nothing but suffering since it was first sealed within you. Because it's a part of me, Konohamaru replied honestly. That's all the reason I need. So be it, Obito said and slammed his hand down on the ground. Kuchios? Geto Mazo? he exclaimed as a giant demonic statue exploded from the ground and lifted both him and Sasuke up onto its head. Not that thing again. Konohamaru cursed at the sight of the statue that had took the chakra from his shadow clone back when he had it captured by Kisame months ago. Let me show you my precious pets. Obito spoke clearly, and a second later, the 6 Jinchuriki fully transformed into their respective Biju. We're outnumbered 8-1. Konohamaru gritted out. That's a bit much even for me. This isn't fair. Damn it. Shikoku yelled at the sight of his brothers and sisters. Honestly, Konohamaru, a familiar voice spoke up. Is this really all it takes to scare you? Huh? Konohamaru asked as a figure landed in front of him on Shikaku's head. You! Shikaku shouted in surprise. What are you doing here? He was clearly still pissed about the whole attack on Konoha thing. I'm here to help you guys out. The newcomer as he looked back at them over his shoulder. A mask. Konohamaru muttered and narrowed his eyes. You're the one we encountered in the Land of Iron, and the one who summoned Shikaku to attack Konoha. Aren't you? Yes. The masked man nodded. I originally wanted Konoha to gain a Biju so that they and the Akatsuki would hopefully end up destroying each other. But I never wanted the Biju to used as pets like this, so I'm going to set them all free when we're finished here. You! Obito trailed off as he narrowed his eyes into a glare. I should have expected that you would show up here. Hey Konohamaru, the newcomer said as he took off his mask and grinned back at the Ichibi Jinchuriki. Try to keep up because from here on out, I'm on point. And Naruto Nissen? Konohamaru asked in surprise. Naruto? Sasuke asked equally surprised. How? I wouldn't worry about the how if I were you, Naruto said with a grin. You ready, Kurama? He asked in his mind. I've been waiting for this moment for years, Kurama responded. Let's do this. Here we go. Naruto yelled as he leaped off of Shikaku's head and exploded in golden chakra. Let's go, Kurama. 9 golden tails sprang out. A seal etched into its back as the massive form of the full-power Kyubi no Yoko. The strongest of the Biju landed appeared on the battlefield and towered over the other Biju, and with that it roared, Land of Lightning. Kumo/battlefield. Kurama! You damned show-off! Shikaku yelled at the much larger demon fox. I'll deal with you later. Shikaku? Kurama shot back as he kept his attention locked on the rest of his siblings. So this is you at full power, huh? Naruto asked with a grin. Damn Kurama, you're like frickin' huge. It's the reason I am known as the strongest of the Biju, Kurama responded. Even with half my chakra sealed away by the Shinigami, I was still a match for this manipulative bastard. That's the Kyubi? Sasuke asked with a rather large amount of fear. No wonder everyone in Konoha was so afraid of Naruto back when he was still in the village. This thing was practically the size of a mountain and several times bigger than the other Biju. Damn you, Naruto, Obito cursed in thought. I have to kill him now or he'll undo everything I've accomplished. He mentally ordered his 6 paths to start charging a series of chakra spheres to use against the demon fox. And I-san, they're charging up. Konohamaru shouted out when he saw the 6 begin gather red and blue chakra orbs. We've got them? Naruto responded calmly and started charging a number of black chakra spheres around him inside the demon fox's mouth. Kurama lunged forward, his tails tearing up the landscape, leveling nearby mountains, and essentially flung the 6 Jinchuriki paths away with a series of flicks. By Jidama! Shikaku bellowed from behind him as he shot a black chakra sphere directly at the demonic statue. Shit! Obito cursed as he raised his hands to defend the statue. Tendo! Shinra Tensei! He exclaimed as gravity shifted and tried to deflect the wave of demonic energy that washed over them. Amaterasu! Sasuke called out as he unleashed another blast of black flames at Konohamaru. Kamui! Konohamaru countered as he quickly created a vortex to absorb the flames. Renzoku by Jidama! Kurama roared as he unleashed a barrage of black chakra spheres at the 6 Jinchuriki paths. Renzoku by Jidama! The 6 Biju roared back as they fired off a number of the chakra balls themselves. The village was completely wiped out in the ensuing series of dome-like explosions, some going off course and being flung towards nearby mountains, making them disappear. Eventually, with a deafening explosion, the dust cleared as Kurama slid to a stop beside the much smaller Shikaku with a grin on his face. Why wouldn't he? He hadn't had this much fun in decades, nor had he actually fought against his siblings in centuries, so for once he was actually enjoying himself. The village. Konohamaru trailed off at the sight that greeted him. It was all gone. Kumo was already lost before I arrived. Naruto told him. There was nothing you could have done. It doesn't mean I have to like it, Konohamaru gritted out. Front and center. Shikaku shouted as the 6 transformed Jinchuriki started gathering chakra into a single massive black sphere. Damn it! Konohamaru cursed. He started charging his sage chakra again. I'm going to deflect it with my Kamui. Don't bother, Naruto responded. We've got this. He brought his hands up and started forming a black chakra sphere of even greater size. Damn show-offs, Shikaku grumbled. Udama Baijidama. The 6 Jinchuriki roared as they launched the massive black sphere. Udama Baijidama. Kurama bellowed as his own chakra ball exploded at them. They struck each other in the center and exploded in a massive dome of light that washed over the whole region, obliterating the clouds above them and reducing everything within 1,000 miles to nothing. When the light died down, Naruto and Konohamaru could still be seen standing atop Kurama and Shikaku while Kurama had his tails wrapped around each of the 6 paths' necks. Clones of Naruto were inside all of the tails and grabbed onto the chakra rods that were embedded within them. Not far away, Obito glared as Naruto ripped the chakra rods out, forcing Obito to have his Geto Mazo launch a series of chakra chains to grab and pull the Biju back into the statue. Sasuke stood beside him atop the statue's head, and his Susanoo was active, creating armor for the statue, and was the only reason that the statue had actually survived that last clash. With the 6 Biju resealed in the statue and his paths effectively out of the picture, Naruto and Konohamaru released both Kurama and Shikaku's forms before landing beside each other to confront the 2 Uchiha. Uzumaki Naruto, Obito said with no small amount of disdain. Why don't you just give up and accept defeat? Because I still have something worth living for, Naruto replied honestly. People like who have given up on this world have no right to tell us to give up, Konohamaru added. Land of the Lost Mountains Graveyard. Yakushi Kabuto wasn't like others like Sasuke, Tobi, or even Orochimaru himself because unlike them, he never really had a real identity or even a home. It's what made him such a good spy and, more importantly, such a good liar too. The closest thing he'd ever had to a family was with her back in the orphanage before everything began with Danzo, Root, Konoha, and his former master, Orochimaru. After Sasuke had killed Orochimaru, Kabuto had traveled to the Ryuchi Cave, home of the snakes, and trained in the sage arts under the Great White Snake. He soon approached Tobi and offered to join him for no other reason than for his own amusement, summoning legends back to this impure world from beyond the grave with Edo Tensei. He hadn't expected them to find him, however. You broke through my barrier, Kabuto commented as he maintained his crouched position over his map of the battlefields. It seems you know it quite well. I am the best chakra sensor in the shinobi world, Karen declared plainly as she stood alongside Tsunade. It wasn't that hard to find you. Uzumaki Karen, Kabuto chuckled. Orochimaru-sama tried very hard to find you after Suna raided your home village for your sensory ability. I wonder just how far he would have gone if he had known that you possessed the Rinnegan too? I guess we'll never know now. Kukukuku. We're here to kill you, Tsunade spoke up, and end your Edo Tensei. Edo Tensei? Kabuto asked, clearly amused. No one can end this jutsu but me. It wouldn't even stop if I was killed. Ahahaha, you've become just like Orochimaru, Tsunade commented on his new looks. You are nothing but a fake. So are you too, Kabuto countered. I know that Senju Hashirama survived his supposed death in the First Shinobi War and harvested a Sharingan, evolving it into the Rinnegan, which he then gifted to you, Karen. And you, Senju Tsunade, inherited his knowledge of medical ninjutsu, though I think we all know that you both could never compare to the likes of the Shodai Hokage. You both are nothing but watered-down successors of a man that was practically a living god. What's your endgame? Karen asked the question. I can understand that Tobi wants the Biju to resurrect the Jubi, but what do you want exactly? Me? I thought that was obvious, Kabuto chuckled. I want the power of those legends that were recognized as the strongest in history. All of this has been nothing but a test, and I'm pleased to say that it's a complete success. I'm going to kill you, Karen declared simply. I'll deal with those you've summoned after you're dead. I'm sure my Ninjendo can remove the souls of the people you've resurrected and enslaved. Her Rinnegan could be a problem if I don't handle this carefully, Kabuto thought as he stood up and formed a hand seal. Snakes slithered out from behind him and started to enlarge, causing the two Yukinins to tense. This is my field and nature is on my side, he said as the snakes lunged right at them. Tendo, Shinra Tensei, Karen whispered as gravity rippled and blew the snakes away, sending them crashing into the far wall. Sutenkyaku, Tsunade called out as she appeared above the snake user and swung down with her leg. The floor cratered as Kabuto's body seemed to disappear as the snakes scattered and wrapped around various spikes through the chamber. Hiding won't save you, Karen said as she tried to sense him. His chakra is scattered everywhere. This is an ability of mine to transform myself into liquid form. Kabuto's voice echoed through the chamber. It's a jutsu I created after researching and altering the transformation ability of the Hozuki clan. This chakra is, Karen thought as she felt the familiar shift in the environment around them. No way. That's not possible. There's no way this guy could have learned that. Orochimaru-sama's curse seal was originally created after studying a young man named Yugo. Kabuto continued. His clan had a rather unusual ability to passively absorb natural energy into their bodies. This is... Karen trailed off with narrowed eyes. Karen? Tsunade asked the redhead. Where the hell did you learn this from? Karen demanded. From the Ryuchi cave, of course, Kabuto answered with a laugh. I finally found it. Under the guidance of the White Snake Sage, I trained myself and gained true ascension. I finally surpassed Orochimaru-sama. One of the snakes dropped down from the spike sand, spewed out an arm. Shurato! Karen exclaimed as she fired off a beam of chakra that tore into the snake, though it had moved enough so that the blast didn't hit anything vital. I missed, she asked in surprise. While in this form I too can sense chakra, Kabuto replied. I always have the force of nature itself with me after all. The force of natural. Tsunade trailed off with wide eyes. You couldn't have. That form requires a huge amount of chakra to activate, never mind maintain. There's no way you have enough chakra for something like that. I absorbed most of Orochimaru-sama's power from his remains and combined with the various experiments I've done on myself in order to harness the power of those like Yugo. I have enough chakra to accomplish my goals. Orochimaru-sama tried to gain this ability himself, but he simply didn't have the right body for it, Kabuto explained as he climbed out of the snake's mouth. Even he couldn't become a true sage like I did. Senjutsu. Tsunade shook her head at the sight before her. You actually learned senjutsu. My power in sage mode is greater than anything either of you can bring to bear, Kabuto proclaimed as black rings appeared around his eyes and his pupils elongated into vertical slits like that of a snake. I am no longer a snake. Now, I'm a dragon, he declared as he threw off the cloak to reveal his new form. Senjutsu. Senin Moto. This isn't going to be easy, Karen gritted out. We'll take him together, Tsunade responded. I wouldn't be so sure about that. Kabuto smirked and slammed his hand down on the floor. Kuchios, Edo Tensei. 3 coffins exploded from the ground beside him. You didn't? Tsunade paled as the coffins fell open to reveal their occupants standing inside. By the sage, she whispered when she saw the man that stepped out of the center coffin. Perhaps I should introduce you? Kabuto asked with great amusement. Senju Tsunade, Uzumaki Karen. Allow me to introduce you to Uchiha Itachi, Uzumaki Nagato, and Uchiha Madara. So it finally happened. It would appear that little brat Nagato managed to grow. Madara began only to pause at the sight that greeted him. What happened? Nagato asked as he shakily stood on his own damaged feet. This is the real world, but I died. What's going on? Kabuto, you. Itachi trailed off. I summoned you all with Edo Tensei, Kabuto explained. Did you say Edo Tensei? Isn't that the jutsu known as a complete atrocity against the entire flow of life and death in the universe? Madara questioned. Who are you? My name is Kabuto, the Hibi-senin introduced. I'm his partner, he smirked. Your Edo Tensei is special compared to the others. I made you even better than you were in your prime. My prime? Madara narrowed his eyes at him. You know about my prime? Well, no, not really. Why don't you show it to me? The power of the Uchiha, Kabuto suggested before turning his gaze on the other two summoned men. Hello Itachi, Nagato. It's been a long time. You were Sasori's spy, Nagato said with narrowed eyes. He seems to have resurrected us with Edo Tensei, Itachi mused. For what, I wonder? Nagato, Madara said almost confused. For you to be summoned you would have to die. And you didn't use Rin'ai Tensei to resurrect me like we planned? What's with everyone? What happened? Rin'ai Tensei? Nagato asked alarmed. This is bad, Tsunade whispered to the redhead at her side. I'll hold off Madara, Itachi, and Nagato. Do you think you can handle Kabuto by yourself? Maybe, Karen answered honestly. It won't be easy, that's for sure. Katan, Goka Mekyaku. Madara bellowed as he unleashed a massive blast of fire at the two women. Gakido, Fujitsu Kyuin, Karen said as she quickly absorbed the flames. That's the Rinnegan, Madara realized with surprise. How do you have those eyes? That's none of your business, Karen told him. Sutenkyaku, Tsunade exclaimed as she appeared above the legendary Uchiha and struck down with her leg. Susanoo, Madara whispered as his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan shifted into being and encased him in a dark blue skeletal cage of chakra. That's Tsunade started only to be knocked away when the ribcage expanded and formed a large ethereal monstrosity around Madara. So this is Uchiha Madara, Nagato commented. Impressive. This doesn't even come close to his real strength, Itachi countered. Tendo, Shinra Tensei, Karen called out as she sent a blast of gravity at Madara, sending him flying back, Susanoo and all. It would seem that your mastery of the Rinnegan is too much, Madara mused as he closed his eyes. Here it is. Kabuto's smile widened from the back. Allow me to show you just how to use those godly eyes of yours, Madara said clearly as he opened his eyes to reveal the gray ripple pattern of the Rinnegan. Is that the Rinnegan? Karen asked in surprise. As we guessed, Kabuto chuckled as he had Madara jump back to his side. So the Sharingan can really ascend into the Rinnegan. I was able to awaken these eyes shortly before my death, Madara explained. You said that your name was Kabuto. What did you do to my body? Didn't I just tell you? I made you even better than you were in your prime, Kabuto replied with great amusement. So you survived your battle with my grandfather, Tsunade realized. And you took his power in order to awaken the Rinnegan. You know my body's secrets? Madara questioned Kabuto. How could someone like you decipher the writing on the Uchiha monument when you can't even read it? Orochimaru-sama and I simply formulated a hypothesis based on data we gathered from experiments, Kabuto answered truthfully. And now you just proved that our hypothesis was correct. The Rakuto Sennin. Finally, I can finally see a part of that god's strength. Thanks to your power, which I created. Don't misunderstand, Madara responded as he Susanoo exploded into being once more, only this time it had two faces on its head, and its four arms were locked in a pair of hand seals. This power wasn't created by you. What's going on? Tsunade asked as the ground started to rumble beneath them. This chakra. Karen paled as she felt the rising power levels. This is insane. Tendo, Tengai Shinsei, land of the lost mountain's graveyard. Uchiha Madara had dropped a pair of meteors on the mountain's graveyard, leveling the entire area and decimating a good chunk of the landscape. Unlike the Edo Tensei zombies whom were now quickly regenerating after the last attack, Kabuto was forced to resort to his oral rebirth in order to survive what was clearly a jutsu designed to wipe out any and all opposition. Kabuto couldn't help but stare in wonder at the sheer scale of destruction Madara had unleashed with a single jutsu. It looked like something only a god could do. So this is the power of the Rakuto Sennin? Kabuto mused with a smile. Splendid. This is a view I haven't enjoyed in a long time, Madara commented as he gazed out at the destruction. The power of the Rinnegan, Itachi spoke up. It certainly lives up to the myth. All this power is good for his pain. Nagato shook his head at the sight. Kabuto, was it? Just how much do you know about me? Madara asked the Hibi Sennin. I think I'm right that when you fought the Shodai Hokage at the Valley of the End, You didn't die, did you? Despite losing to Hashirama, you gained a portion of his power. Am I wrong? Kabuto responded. Madara narrowed his eyes before bringing his hand up and looked down inside his collar. So that's why. He paused before continuing. You've certainly prepared well. Do you know our plan as well? Not in detail, but I am on your side, Kabuto replied. Though I'm unsure if Toby will act as planned given the current situation. There's something I want to make sure of before anything else, Madara said as he slammed his hand down on the ground and seals spread out but then retracted a moment later. It appears you haven't captured the Kyuubi yet. So the Kyuubi Jinchuriki still lives, huh? Nagato mused. He's the one that defeated me, though it was Madara that killed me. Toby is an interesting one, isn't he? Kabuto chuckled in amusement. The Kyuubi is still inside its Jinchuriki, though I do not know where it is at this time. Uzumaki Naruto, Nagato sighed. He reminds me much of myself. Uzumaki? From Mito's clan? Madara inquired curiously. Interesting. He would have gotten us with that last one if I hadn't created that chakra chain barrier, Karen said as she tried to slow her breathing. What do we do? I'll deal with those three while you kill Kabuto, Tsunade replied. That's suicide. Karen shook her head at the suggestion. You can't take those three on alone. Karen, Tsunade spoke softly. Let's end this war today. You're going to. Karen trailed off before nodding, and the two jumped out over the battlefield towards their enemy. Just don't get yourself killed. Here they come, Itachi spoke up. Good. Madara nodded as he formed a series of hand seals. This will make more of an impact if it's his granddaughter that's facing me. A forest exploded up from the ground all around them and tried to skewer the two women. Mokutan, Jukai Koten, that's my grandfather's Mokutan, Tsunade shouted in surprise. Tendo, Shinra Tensei, Karen exclaimed as gravity rippled and repelled the massive forest away from them. Perhaps it would be best if I retreated to a safe distance while I have Madara handle these two, Kabuto mused before jumping back and slithering away. Kabuto is escaping, Karen yelled as she took off after the fleeing Hibisenin. I'm going after him. Good luck, Tsunade shouted back just before the redhead disappeared from sight. You sent her away to face as us alone? Madara asked with disdain. You're definitely his descendant. Uchiha Madara, Tsunade declared. I will defeat you here. I'm not going to let you escape, Karen shouted as she landed in front of the Hibisenin. Her sensory ability is first-rate, Kabuto mused as he came to a stop. She'll be able to track me wherever I go unless I kill her here and now. I've got to hurry this up and go help Tsunade-sama, Karen thought. Senpo, Hakageki no Jutsu, Kabuto called out as expelled a dragon-like apparition carrying a small orb in one of its hands. The spirit dragon then encircled the orb and claimed its mouth down on it, creating a large blinding flash of light. A loud booming noise sounded through the air, forcing Karen to cover her ears and close her eyes as the light intensified. He's blocking my eyesight and hearing with light and sound. This jutsu was definitely created to counter Jujutsu, Karen realized. My snake cornea blocks light from hitting my eyes, and by liquefying my insides I can resist the sounds and vibrations in the air too. I'm the only one who can move in this situation with my sage mode. Kabuto grinned darkly as he closed on the paralyzed Uzumaki. You're going to pay for that, Karen whispered, though neither of them could hear her, as a large amount of white chakra exploded from her form. What is this? Kabuto thought in surprise. Her chakra just shot through the roof. Tendo, Shinra Tensei, Karen called out as gravity rippled and blew Kabuto back through the debris-ridden battlefield. So her sensory ability still works even when she's disorientated. Huh? Kabuto thought, slightly worried. I'm through playing games with you, Karen declared. Shurato, she exclaimed as her hand slid off of her arm with a cable connecting the two. Along the cable was a series of small projectiles that quickly rocketed off and rained down on Kabuto's position. Senpo, Muki Tensei. Kabuto smiled darkly as the very earth itself came alive and protected him from the falling volley. Meanwhile, the ground shifted around Karen, attacking her from all sides and forcing her to fall back lest she be skewered. What kind of jutsu is this? Karen thought as she put some distance between the two. Senpo. Yamada no Jutsu. Kabuto roared as his body convulsed and exploded upwards, taking the shape of a massive 8-headed snake 10 times larger than Orochimaru's ever was. This is insane, Karen thought as she stared at the creature before her. It's as big as the Kyuubi. Die! Kabuto bellowed from his place inside one of the snake's mouths. Purple orbs of chakra formed in their mouths and fired a beam-like blast of chakra, tearing up the landscape in a torrent of fire. Gekido, Fujitsu Kyuin, Karen exclaimed as she quickly formed her absorption barrier around her to survive the onslaught. Do you see how useless it is now? Even if you have the Rinnegan, you are no match for me now. Kabuto shouted in glee. Tendo, Chibaku Tensei, Karen called out as she formed a small gravity orb in her hands. She then threw it up into the sky as the ground shook, the very earth itself shifting as it was pulled upwards. I didn't think he'd be this strong, she thought as she strained to maintain her most powerful jutsu. At this point, she could honestly say she had never fought anyone that could push her to her limits other than Naruto, and even then they usually stopped before they ended up killing each other. This Hibi Sennin was stronger than she had anticipated, and she knew if this didn't finish it, then she would lose. No! Kabuto yelled as his massive body was lifted off the ground and fell towards the newly formed miniature moon. I won't die, he was cut off when a couple of mountains was pulled up and dropped on top of him, burying him inside the small moon. It was over. D-damn! Karen gritted out as she fell to her knees with blood leaking from her mouth. That last jutsu had always put an immense strain on her body, and this time wasn't any different. If I wasn't an Uzumaki, that would have killed me. Now she had to help Tsunade, Mokutan, Kajikai Korin. Madara called out as a massive flower-shaped wooden plant exploded from the ground and spread a wave of gas across the battlefield. That's my grandfather's jutsu too, Tsunade commented in surprise as she pulled back to escape it. You're too distracted, Madara commented as he exploded from the ground behind her. A familiar chakra construct encasing his form. Susanoo, he doesn't even need the Itachi and pain to help him, Tsunade thought as she tried to put some distance between them. His strength is almost inhuman. Katan, Goka Mekyaku, Madara bellowed as he unleashed a large blast of flames at the fleeing Senju Kunoichi. I can't afford to hold anything back against this monster, Tsunade thought as she quickly released her forehead seal. Infuin Kai, as the flames engulfed her form, seals started to spread across her body. Byakugo no Jutsu, you dance well, Madara mused as he landed not too far away from her. But your steps are too slow. It will take more than that to stop me, Tsunade declared as she jumped out of the flames, the burns on her skin healing a few seconds later. From what I've seen so far, your power pales in comparison to that of Senju Hashirama, even if you are his descendant, Madara commented. Even if you are able to use medical ninjutsu without hand seals, you aren't even in the same league as the likes of us. I'm not my grandfather, Tsunade said with a glare. I fought a real fight to the death against Hashirama, Madara continued. This is nothing compared to that. His face twisted into a sneer. What can you possibly do? You can't use Mokutan and you're a weak woman, especially compared to the likes of Uzumaki Mito. Weakness revolts me. Weak Senju even more so. I am the granddaughter of Senju Hashirama, who was regarded as the strongest shinobi of his era. Tsunade nodded. It's true I can't use Mokutan, and it's true I'm a woman, but I am certainly not weak. Prove it, Madara dared her. Hashiman, Kai, Tsunade called out as she exploded in a column of green chakra. She is releasing her chakra all at once, Nagato commented. It's the 8 celestial gates that regulate chakra, Itachi explained. Opening them is considered a kenjutsu because of the stress it puts on the user's body. Do you really wish to die that much? Madara asked her. Opening all 8 gates at once is going to kill you. You're wrong, Tsunade countered. As long as my Byakugo no Jutsu is active, I cannot die even with all 8 gates open. Byakugo, Madara mused. Never heard of it. That's because I created it, Tsunade shouted as she disappeared in a burst of speed and reappeared in front of Madara. She's much faster than before, Madara thought as the Senju woman landed a punch directly to his Susanu's ribcage, almost caving it in. She's stronger too, he added as he was thrown back a considerable distance. Katan, Goka Mekyaku, Hiradora. Tsunade countered by punching forward, creating a massive tiger-shaped blast of air pressure. Now this is Hashirama's descendant. Madara mused in approval as the tiger quickly overwhelmed the flames. You're mine now, Tsunade shouted as she dashed towards him. Susanu, Itachi called out as he dropped down in front of her with his chakra construct fully formed around him and the Yama no Kagami brought down to defend. Tendo, Shinra Tensei, Nagato exclaimed as he quickly blasted her back with a gravity wave. Damn it, Tsunade thought as she pushed herself back to her feet. How am I supposed to finish him off if the other two keep stepping in like this? You certainly aren't a weak woman, Madara spoke calmly. But you still can't compare to Hashirama. That man, I don't know what he left you, but this falls short of what he could do. He should have taught his underlings how to resurrect him like I have done, and then maybe I could have a challenge. I've had enough of your talk, Tsunade said with a glare. Tajumoku Bunshin no Jutsu. Madara spoke clearly as a dozen wooden clones grew up from the ground at his side. Susanu. A second later, the clones formed their own twisted chakra constructs around their bodies, complete with arms and legs, standing as giants on the battlefield. I can't win like this, Tsunade thought as she threw out another punch. Hiradora, she exclaimed as another pressure tiger formed and tore through the assembled Susanu-enhanced wood clones. You were able to destroy my clones, HM? Madara mused with his arms crossed. Very well then, I guess it's time I show you the full power of Uchiha Madara. Dark blue chakra exploded from his form many times that previously seen from him and his clones. Senju Tsunade, anything and everything you stand for will be crushed. You are nothing before me, Susanu. His voice rang out as the chakra stabilized and took the form of a truly massive ethereal Tengu that towered over the battlefield. That thing, that's insane. Tsunade thought in both awe and fear at the sight of the newly formed chakra construct. Something like this. It's hard to believe my grandfather actually defeated you. It's incredible. The only one who could stop me was Hashirama. Madara spoke clearly from his place atop the Tengu's head. Too bad he's not around anymore. He smirked a second later. Though in a way that's a good thing, because if I'm the only one here then this time the maps won't need to be redrawn so drastically. The Tengu quickly took out its sword and soared across, releasing a massive blast of chakra and air pressure that carved up the landscape and sliced clean through a pair of nearby mountains. Incredible! Itachi spoke, trying to maintain stoic expression at the casual display of power. So this is the power of Uchiha Madara. He certainly lives up the legend, Nagato agreed. This Susanu is destruction itself. A slash of its sword can destroy all things in nature, and it's as powerful as any Biju. Senju Tsunade, prepare to be crushed, Madara declared. I can't win in a conventional fight against something like that, Tsunade thought grimly as she stared up at the massive chakra construct. There's only one option left for me to win this, she thought as she formed a series of hand seals. Shiki Fujin, that's... Madara trailed off with narrowed eyes. What is that? Nagato asked upon seeing the jutsu. A kinjutsu of the Uzumaki clan, Itachi answered. The Yondaime Hokage used it to seal away the Kyubi, and the Sandaime Hokage used it to seal the Ichibi. If I remember correctly, it also cost both of them their lives, Nagato mused. She must be planning on ending this here. How unsightly, Madara sneered as his Susanu Tengu brought its sword down. This may cost me my life, but it's my victory, Tsunade shouted as she formed a pair of shadow clones. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. She and the clones dashed forward faster the three could follow, as she felt the Shinigami itself pushed its hand through her as well as her clones. The hands then shot out of their stomachs and quickly grabbed hold of Madara, Itachi, and Nagato. I have come too far to fall here, Senju. Madara shouted in anger as he felt his soul being torn from his undead body. Fuin! Tsunade and her clones called out as a seal formed on her stomach and pulled Madara, Itachi, and Nagato in. It's over. She trailed off as the Shingami's hand retracted, ripping her soul along with the three she had sealed with her. He clones dispelled as she slumped to the ground and her breathing slowed. It's finally over. The last thing she saw before her eyes closed for the last time was Karen's tearful face. Land of lightning. Kumo/battlefield. These guys are like cockroaches, Kurama growled as he struck the ghetto mazos across the face, knocking it to the ground. Just die already. Die. 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 Shikaku chanted as he pushed against Sasuke's fully formed Susanoo. Damn you, Naruto! Obito gritted out in annoyance as the blonde Jinchuriki descended towards him. Rasengan! Naruto called out as he swung the spiraling sphere down on the masked Uchiha. That won't work! Obito shouted as the passed through him and exploded. What's the matter? You look tired. Naruto grinned as he landed a few feet away. What do you mean? Obito asked him. I can't see your face, but I can tell, Naruto said with a wide grin. You can't keep this up much longer. I guess I'll have to go with Plan B then, Obito conceded as he formed a hand seal. A large pot and a smaller bottle appeared at his side in a poof of smoke a moment later. What's that? Konohamaru asked the question. In truth, I wanted to revive it in its complete form, but even if it's just a piece, it will maintain its power. It's already too late for you? Obito declared as he threw the pot into the ghetto mazo's mouth, causing it to scream. What the hell did he just do? Naruto asked in surprise. Look carefully and feel it under your skin. Obito spoke darkly. The Jubi has been revived. Behold the beginning and end of this world. That's impossible, Konohamaru shouted from his place atop Shikaku's head. You don't have the Ichibi or the Kyubi. A piece. Shikaku gritted out. The clone you captured. You mean the clone I made to fool Kisame? Konohamaru asked his Biju. He didn't take you. Only the small amount of your chakra I put into my shadow clone. So it only needs a part of the Biju to be revived? Naruto asked, now worried. That pot and bottle he had the statue devour were tools created by Old Man Rakuto, Kurama explained. They have the power to seal away almost anything. Whatever goes in never comes out no matter what happens. Earlier I felt the presence of those that had absorbed a bit of my power, but they suddenly vanished from my senses earlier. The Shinobi Alliance must have used the pot and bottle to seal them. If that's true, then the statue now has your chakra in it too, Naruto said grimly. But it's only a piece, Kurama continued. I don't know what kind of form the Jubi will be revived in. If that's the case, then I want to try something, Konohamaru spoke up. Sarutobi Konohamaru, Obito said clearly. You're just like Kakashi. You open your mouth so easily that it's no wonder you've lived a life of regret. Regret? I regret nothing, Konohamaru denied. Naruto, Konohamaru, why do you fight against us? We're trying to create a better world free of this hell, Sasuke asked the two. You're both Jinchuriki and have suffered more than anyone, so why do you still fight for this world? Because we're the only ones who can, Naruto answered honestly. Yeah, Konohamaru agreed. We were born to do this. I see. Sasuke nodded as his Susanoo reformed. Old Man Rakuto once said that the Jubi's complete revival will signal the end of the world, Kurama mused. But then again, it's only got a piece of Shikaku's and my chakra instead of the whole thing, so I think we stand a chance. You're misunderstanding, Obito countered. The Jubi's revival doesn't need to be perfect for my plans. My goal is to use it as a power source to cast my Mugen Tsukuyami on this entire world. To make this world one with no war, no peace, nothing. A perfect world. There lies truth in a singular consciousness that has abandoned individuality. This world no longer needs heroes or hope for the future. If the Jubi is revived even in its incomplete state, I'll be able to use Mugen Tsukuyami and then reality will end. All that will exist is a single never-ending dream. Has anyone ever told you that you're kind of an asshole? Naruto asked him with a grin. Seriously. That's the biggest load of shit I've ever heard. Individuality makes people blind to the truth. Obito spoke simply. My words, the words of a nobody, are the true words that will lead this world to the truth. Rasengan, Konohamaru called out as he lunged right at the statue. Chidori, Sasuke countered as he appeared in front of the attack Ichibi Jinchuriki. The two techniques clashed in a torrent of wind before suddenly exploding with enough force to blow both combatants away from each other. Sasuke crashed hard against the side of the statue, while one of Naruto's clones caught Konohamaru mid-flight and set him down. Fools! Obito sneered. We won't let you touch the Geto Mazo. Let's see about that. Naruto yelled as he and Kurama shot forward. Futon, Raisin Shuriken. He called out as he quickly formed a spinning white chakra shuriken in his hand and hurled it at Obito. Pitiful! Obito spoke simply as he phased right through the chakra shuriken. Who says I was aiming for you? Naruto asked with a grin. Susanoo. Sasuke roared, creating a truly massive chakra construct over the screaming Geto Mazo as the chakra shuriken closed in on him. Damn you! Obito cursed as the chakra shuriken cut through Sasuke's Susanoo and expanded into a spinning ball of wind that encased the bulk of the statue, forcing Sasuke to jump clear of the attack. It's not over yet, Konohamaru shouted as his Mangekyo Sharingan reactivated. Kamui! He exclaimed as space and time distorted around the statue's neck. He'd opted to use the normal jutsu instead of increasing its power with his Sage mode and possibly transporting the whole thing to that other dimension on the other side of this jutsu. After all, there's no telling if could somehow return after completing its transformation once on the other side, so he had thought it best to try and kill it here and now instead. A good plan, Obito commented as he jumped in close to the statue. Jikuken Ito, he whispered as space and time suddenly rippled before settling back to normal. But not good enough, he added as he quickly formed a series of hand seals. How did he dash? Konohamaru asked in surprise at seeing his jutsu nullified. You're too optimistic, Obito said clearly as he slammed his hand down on the ground. Uchiha Kenjin, he called out as a large wall of fire rose up from the ground around the screaming statue. Don't underestimate me. Who is this guy? How the hell can he counter Kamui like this? Kakashi-sensei never said that it couldn't be stopped like that, so how did this guy do that? Konohamaru thought worriedly as he eyed the masked Uchiha. Konohamaru, cover me! Naruto shouted as he jumped out of Kurama's chakra body and charged right at Obito. Katan! Gukakyu no Jutsu! Konohamaru exclaimed as he exhaled a large fireball at the masked Uchiha. You are still underestimating my power, Obito sneered as he swung with his gun by and blew the flames away. You are mine now, Naruto, he declared as he turned to grab the now much closer Uzumaki. Hiraishin no Jutsu, Naruto called out as a three-pronged kunai descended above the masked Uchiha, and the blonde immediately teleported in an instant. Rasengan, he roared as he thrust the spinning chakra sphere down. I'm not going to fall for that, Obito shouted as he twisted the gunbai round to defend his back as the spiraling sphere struck down. Yuki Hageshi! The gunbai reflected the attacking jutsu, blowing Naruto several feet away in an explosion of power. Jikuken Ito! The Uchiha smiled behind his mask as he finally grabbed Naruto and sucked him into his own space-time vortex. I finally got you. Not quite, Naruto yelled from above, causing Obito to glance up in surprise. Senpo, Cho Udama Rasengan, Naruto called out as he struck down with a much larger spiraling sphere. You're a bit slow, Obito sneered as he phased out of reality, shifting into his own personal dimension only to come face to face with another Naruto. The clone from before, he thought in surprise. Don't tell me he let me grab him on purpose? Rasengan! The Naruto clone called out as he slammed another spiraling sphere into Obito's face, shattering his mask into pieces. Shit, Obito thought as he returned to the battlefield, with what was left of his mask crumbling to the ground, revealing his scarred face. So that's what you look like, Naruto mused upon seeing the eldest Uchiha's face for the first time. It's hard to believe that one of my dad's old students would turn out like you've done. Your father was never there when it really mattered, Obito responded calmly. Who is he? Konohamaru asked over his shoulder. A former student of my father and Kakashi's old teammate, Naruto replied with a shrug. He was supposed to have died in the last war, but he somehow survived and summoned the Kyuubi to attack Konoha 21 years ago. So I am not the last Uchiha alive after all. Sasuke spoke as he landed beside Obito. You aren't dead yet? Naruto asked his former teammate in surprise. I thought I killed you already. You really have changed, huh, Naruto? Sasuke mused as he stared at his former best friend. Oh please, Naruto almost groaned. Sasuke, you and I both know that I was nothing but a stepping stone for you to awaken those cursed eyes of yours. Hell, didn't you find it strange that Old Man Sandame assigned both of us to the same team along with Kakashi, a well-known shinobi with a Sharingan, and a useless fangirl? He set us up from the start to have you either kill me or Sakura in order for you to gain the Mangekyo Sharingan. Katan, Bakufu Ranbu. Obito called out as he exhaled a large blast of fire which quickly mixed with his localized space-time vortex to create a spiraling barrage of flames. Don't interrupt me when I'm talking, Naruto shouted as Kurama's tails slammed down between the two, batting the flames aside. Chikuken Ito, Obito whispered as he reversed his space-time vortex and expunged a volley of large shuriken at Naruto. Don't forget about me, Konohamaru yelled as sand exploded from the ground and intercepted the shuriken. I haven't forgotten about you. Obito glared back as he jumped high into the air and unleashed a barrage of small black rod-like objects at Shikaku. Geto, Chikura Kusari Fuin. He spoke calmly as the chakra rods pinned down Shikaku's arms and neck with chakra chains linking them. He's using a variation of Karen's jutsu? Naruto mused as he saw Shikaku's body dissolve into lifeless sand. It's a good thing Shikaku isn't like the rest of us Biju, huh? Kurama grumbled, for once impressed with the weakest of the Biju. The others all have physical forms, even Matatabi. But since Shikaku is made out of sand, that kind of seal won't work on him. Accursed beasts. Obito gritted in annoyance. Sasuke, catch, he said to his clansmen before threw his gun by to the younger Uchiha. You can have it for now, but I want it back later. HN, Sasuke grunted as he caught the gun by and reformed his Susanoo. Ni-san, Konohamaru spoke up. If you can deal with Sasuke, then I can hold off Obito until you're done, and then we'll stop the Jubi's revival, he said as Shikaku quickly reformed behind him. All right then. Naruto nodded in agreement and formed a hand seal. Mokutan, Mokoryu no Jutsu. A large wooden dragon exploded from the ground and lunged at Sasuke. It quickly wrapped itself around the Susanoo, restricting its movements as it struggled to break free. Enten, Kagetsuchi no Tsurugi. Sasuke called out as his Susanoo's sword caught fire and set the wood dragon ablaze with black flames. Not too far away, Konohamaru landed on the ground as Obito unleashed a barrage of large shuriken from his space-time vortex, forcing the Ichibi Jinchuriki to form a wall of sand to intercept them. Obito phased through the sand wall and grabbed the young Sarutobi. I've got you, Obito declared as he sucked Konohamaru into the vortex. Chikuken Ito. Konohamaru landed in a heap once he was dropped into the strange dimension he'd be transported to and groaned as he rolled over on his hands and knees. This isn't working, he thought as he pushed himself to his feet. I need to get out of here and back into the fight. But how? He looked around trying to find a way out but found none. Wait, if this guy was Kakashi-sensei's old teammate, and if this guy really is the one that gave him the Sharingan in the first place, then they must operate on the same principle. I've seen him appear and disappear using that jutsu of his, so maybe... He brought his hand up to his face, covering his left eye. Kamui, he whispered as his jutsu activated, and he suddenly found himself back on the battlefield. That's my eye, Obito mused. You came back, HN? You can't get away from me that easily, Konohamaru grinned back. Udama Baijidama, Naruto and Kurama exclaimed from the side, catching their attention. Not too far away they could see Kurama, with Naruto inside his head, charging up the largest Baijidama they'd ever seen. The shot forward, tearing up the battlefield before slamming into the barrier surrounding the Geto Mazo, and exploded in a dome of light that consumed their vision. The statue's chakra. Konohamaru trailed off in surprise. It's gone. Is it over? Is this the end? Yes. Obito spoke from the side of this world. A deafening roar soon followed, causing the four combatants to look over at where the statue had once resided. The Jubi had been revived. Land of Lightning battlefield. Is that the... Naruto trailed off at the sight. Yes, Kurama confirmed. That's the Jubi. It was a disgusting-looking creature with one large eye that looked like a cross between a Rinnegan and a Sharingan. Almost immediately, Obito and Sasuke landed on the Jubi's head as Konohamaru jumped up onto Shikaku's head. The reason you can't feel the negative chakra it was giving off before is because it doesn't have emotions or ideals like what you're used to. It can't be sensed. That thing is the same as the natural energy circulating the world, like what you would feel from the earth or the water and even the air itself. I wonder. Naruto mused as his eyes changed color and his sage markings appeared on his face. Stop it, Naruto, Kurama told him. It's no use. You'll just measure that it can't be measured. That's not even funny, Konohamaru commented, having already shifted into his own sage mode. How could anything have that much power? I had wanted to put them out of their misery of being Jinchuriki. Sasuke spoke up as he stood atop the Jubi's head. But they're better than I expected. I'm going to start Mugen Tsukuyami as soon as it's ready, Obito responded. It will take time for you to pull the moon close enough to do that, Sasuke mused. They will get in the way. The safest thing to do is to kill them with the power of the Jubi. Sasuke. Obito trailed off. You just want to try out the Jubi's power, don't you? Just like a child. He smirked slightly as the Jubi brought its arm down, blowing up a good chunk of the landscape. Shit just got real, Naruto shouted as Kurama and Shikaku raised their arms to shrug off the wave of debris that flew at them. Listen up. First, let's keep at a distance and see what it does. Depending on what it does, we'll attack it from as close as possible, Kurama shouted over the sound of the shockwave. You're still a damned show-off, Kurama, Shikaku yelled back. Let's go. Kurama roared as he lunged forward, only to be struck by the Jubi's large fist, which had moved far faster than a creature its size was supposed to move. Damn bastard! The chakra fox growled as he righted himself and charged up a barrage of black chakra spheres. Damn you! Shikaku shouted, only to be batted away, his body smashed with a single smack from the Jubi's demon claw. Renzoku Baijidama! Kurama called out as he unleashed the explosive volley at the Jubi. Cho Udama Baijidama! Obito's voice echoed from atop the Jubi's head as it unleashed a large beam-like blast of concentrated chakra. Shit! Kurama cursed as he wrapped himself in his tails. Mokutan! Hobi no Jutsu! Naruto called out as he quickly flung himself out of Kurama's body and formed a face-shaped wooden construct around himself. The beam washed over the two, obliterating 8 of Kurama's 9 tails in an instant and forcing his body to break apart. You okay, Kurama? Naruto asked in thought as they crawled out from the now destroyed wooden construct. Give me a few minutes to recharge, Kurama told him. Konohamaru, you okay? Naruto yelled out. Why yeah, was Konohamaru's stammered reply. He was currently pushing himself out of the ditch he'd ended up in when the Jubi had destroyed Shikaku's body and sent him tumbling down to ground zero. He was bleeding from a head wound and the sand armor he was encased in was cracked all over. Do you think you can buy me a little time? Naruto asked him. How long do you need? Konohamaru asked back. 15 seconds. Naruto replied as he formed a hand seal. I hope this works. All right. Konohamaru nodded and looked over at the Jubi as it started to gather chakra at its mouth again. Vanish from this world. Obito spoke clearly. Cho Udama Baijidama. The black chakra sphere exploded forwards in a beam of light. Senpo, Kamui, Konohamaru exclaimed as space and time distorted, pulling the beam into the vortex he created. I'm at my limit, he thought as he felt the last of his sage mode disappear. Bro, whatever you're going to, you'd better do it now. Senpo, Mokutan, Shinsasenju. Naruto called out as a massive wooden statue exploded from the ground under him in the shape of a Buddha with several thousand hands fanning out in rows from its back. It was roughly twice the size of the Jubi, towering over dozens of mountains as its arms turned, and it took a step forward, leveling a good chunk of the landscape as it moved. By the sage! Konohamaru whispered in awe at the sight. So this is what Madara talked about, Obito thought with gritted teeth. The sage arts are truly frightening. Naruto, this is... Sasuke trailed off as he stared up with widened eyes. Senpo, Chojo Kabutsu, Naruto exclaimed as the wooden statue's hands descended upon the Jubi in a massive barrage of fists. The Jubi tried to pull away as several of the wooden fists struck its eye, causing its tails to flail wildly, striking the wooden statue with enough force to rip half the number of hands apart. This was soon followed by a mighty explosion of smoke and dust as the last of the statue's hands slammed into the one-eyed god, knocking it back with an echoing wail. "That is impressive," Obito mused as he eyed the Jubi's form starting to change. "But the hope they're clinging to doesn't exist, and soon they'll cease to exist too." The Jubi is about to reach its next stage in maturity. A moment later, the Jubi took on a more humanoid form with long legs, an equally long right arm while the left was missing, and a twisted neck. It had an ear on the right side of its head, while the left side had its mouth and its eye remained on its face. "It will soon be difficult to control the Jubi," he thought as the Jubi roared. "I'll need to use Hashirama's cells to strengthen the bond," he added as wood grew out from his right side and penetrated the Jubi's skin. "So this is the Jubi," Sasuke commented. "Not yet," Obito denied. "It's not complete yet. You can't completely control the Jubi unless you become its Jinchuriki," Sasuke mused. "So why haven't you?" "Because I was never supposed to be the one to become its Jinchuriki," Obito replied. "Originally Nagato was supposed to sacrifice himself in order to resurrect the real Madara, but since he's dead and I have the Rinnegan now, I will need to resurrect him myself, sacrificing your life in the process," Sasuke added knowingly. "So that's the reason you haven't had the Jubi annihilate them with a Baijidama yet, because it would kill you too. For now we will teach them despair," Obito declared as he raised his hand. "Mokutan, Sashiki no Jutsu," he called out as the Jubi's tails turned into long arms and unleashed a massive volley of wooden spears down upon the two Jinchuriki. "That's Mokutan?" Naruto commented as Konohamaru created a wall of sand around the two to deflect the barrage of wooden spears. "He probably got that from Hashirama-sensei somehow. Do you see how hopeless this world really is? Do you know despair now?" Obito questioned. "Perhaps I should show you the difference in power," he added as the Jubi started charging up another black sphere of chakra at its mouth, only this one was being aimed at them. "Shit!" Naruto cursed when he saw the head turn and roar. "Cho Udama Baijidama!" Obito bellowed as the Jubi lobbed the black chakra ball skyward, sending it high over the mountains surrounding them. "That direction!" Konohamaru trailed off with wide eyes. "Konoha, and so ends the will of fire," Obito declared as a column of light appeared on the horizon. "Konohagakure no Sato had been destroyed. You son of a bitch," Konohamaru whispered before looking over at his fellow Jinchuriki. "I'm going to fucking kill you. Taju cho Udama Baijidama," Obito called out as the Jubi launched multiple spheres at faraway targets, namely Iwa, Suna, and Kiri. "Stop it!" Konohamaru shouted as he prepared to launch himself at the elder Uchiha, only to be grabbed by Naruto, stopping him from moving. "Let me go. I have to stop him. You can't fight without a plan. So shut up and let me think, damn it." Naruto growled at him before calming himself. "All right, I got it," he said darkly and glared at the elder Uchiha. "He must be using Mokutan cells he collected from Hashirama-sama to control the Jubi, so all we have to do is cut the connection between them. The bastard can turn intangible," Konohamaru spoke up. "He'll have to remain solid to remain connected to the Jubi," Naruto countered. "We need to get in close." "Already on it," Konohamaru yelled as they shove forward with Naruto not far behind. "Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Moku Bunshin no Jutsu," Naruto called out as two shadow clones and two wood clones appeared at their sides and started channeling chakra to their hands. "Futon, Raisin Shuriken," he shouted as he hurled a familiar spinning chakra shuriken right at Obito. "Katan, Goen Rasengan," Konohamaru called out as he threw out a chakra fireball that slammed into the Jubi's hand-shaped tails and burned clean through them, clearing the way. Naruto's chakra shuriken sailed through the burning tails and flew straight at Obito, cutting the wood connecting Obito's arm to the Jubi while phasing straight through him. "Katan, Bakufu Ranbu," Obito exclaimed as he unleashed a fireball while space and time distorted in front of him, creating a large spiral of fire. "Enten, Yasaka no Magatama," Sasuke exclaimed as his Susanoo reformed and started throwing dozens of black Magatama at the two Jinchuriki. "Damn, that's hot," Konohamaru shouted as he encased himself and Naruto in sand to protect them. "Without our senjutsu they'd have killed us by now," A moment later, the Jubi roared as it grew its left armor and seemed to fill out. Now what's happening? Naruto. It's going to use the Tenpenki. Kurama shouted from the back of his Jinchuriki's mind. The what? Naruto asked aloud. I'm going to cut the only thing that connects me and the Jubi. Nothing will restrain it. Obito mused as he stood atop it. Maybe it'd be better if I just became its Jinchuriki. It's about to start. Sasuke trailed off as his Susanoo grew to twice its previous size. I'll make it disappear, Konohamaru declared as he focused on the Jubi. Semp dash. Chikuken Ito. Obito spoke from behind him, and the two were sucked into a vortex a moment later. Konohamaru, Naruto shouted. Tenpenki? The Jubi bellowed as it released a massive shockwave that obliterated the landscape, creating tornadoes, earthquakes, floods, and thunderstorms around it, ending with a massive explosion forming a mushroom cloud hundreds of feet high. So this is the Jubi, Sasuke thought as the dust cleared and revealed his opponent. Naruto, this isn't working, Naruto gritted out as he threw off his battered armor. The Jubi looked down at the blonde and roared as he stood up and glared back. What are you looking at? He asked as it formed a hand seal. Konohamaru and Obito dropped out of the space-time vortex and collapsed to the rectangular-shaped floor. Konohamaru recovered first and launched himself at the Uchiha with a spiraling sphere in hand. Rasengan! He exclaimed as he struck down, and the Churka ball slammed through Obito's chest, cracking the ground with a might explosion. Take it back. You're not like Kakashi, Obito rasped out. He would have tried to turn me. I'm not Kakashi-sensei, Konohamaru reasoned as he stepped back and the Uchiha collapsed to the floor. That was for Konoha, you bastard. This is not the end. Someone will come along and complete my Moon's Eye plan, Obito gasped as the last of his life left him. Rin, Kamui, Konohamaru whispered as space and time distorted, pulling him in and leaving the other dimension. The Jubi roared before opening its mouth and revealing a Rafflesia-like attachment which expanded outwards. It's transforming again, Naruto thought with narrowed eyes. No, it's just going back to its original shape. That was just 2 attack. It's one step before its last transformation. If we let it finish its transformation, then it's all over. My chakra is fully regenerated, so let's synchronize while we have the chance. Kurama spoke up. Not yet, Naruto responded as he saw the Jubi start gathering chakra into a massive black sphere. Let me just deal with this first, he thought as he took out a 3-pronged kunai. The Jubi isn't holding back, Sasuke mused at the sight. I wonder what spooked it. Cho Udama Baijidama. The Jubi bellowed as it launched the huge black sphere at the blonde Jinchuriki. Chikuken Kekai, Naruto whispered as he raised the kunai, and the chakra sphere slammed into a series of seals floating in the air before him. The seals spun and wrapped around the sphere before they both disappeared a moment later, causing the battlefield to go silent. Hey Sasuke, you might want to take cover, he shouted with a grin. How did he do that? Sasuke thought as a massive column of light appeared in the distance and was soon followed by a shockwave that washed over the battlefield. Did he teleport it away? Let's go, Kurama, Naruto thought as he formed a hand seal and drew on Kurama's chakra, creating his version 2 yellow chakra coat. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. For shadow clones appeared at his side and they threw their own kunai around the Jubi. Hirashin no Jutsu. The clones quickly teleported to the kunai and turned towards the Jubi. Shisekyojin. The clones called out as a huge chakra barrier formed between the clones around the Jubi. Senpo, Myojinman. The real Naruto exclaimed as 10 large torii gates descended from the top of the barrier and pinned down the Jubi's tails. Cho Udama Baijidama. The Jubi bellowed again, only this time the black sphere it formed struck the barrier and exploded upwards out of the top. Now what will you do, Naruto? Sasuke asked from atop a nearby chunk of debris. You can't suppress it and you can't kill it, so what do you plan to do? You're still a bastard, Naruto responded as space and time distorted a few feet behind him and spewed out a disheveled Konohamaru. Konohamaru, are you alright back there? Ivy had better days, Konohamaru rasped as he pushed himself to his feet. The other guy is dead. The one who kept wearing a mask. So you killed Obito? Naruto asked. Yeah. Konohamaru nodded. That's unfortunate, Sasuke declared before jumping up onto the Jubi's pinned head. What is he doing? Konohamaru asked as he saw the Uchiha form a hand seal. Naruto. Stop him now, Kurama shouted in the back of his mind. Damn it! Naruto cursed as he leapt towards his former teammate. Suetun. Razanuzunami, he called out as chakra and water compressed into a swirling vortex of power in his hand. He directed it forward and it exploded in a spiraling wave towards the Jubi's head. You're too late, Sasuke commented. Jubi Fuin no Jutsu, he called out, and suddenly the Jubi let out a loud screech as it was pulled into the body of the last Uchiha. His eyes closed as he grasped his face, his body changing as the Jubi's chakra encased his form until it shattered like glass, revealing his new form, revealing his scale-covered face. 9 Magatama seals were engraved into his back and 10 tail-like appendages. No! Naruto shouted as his water attack was instantly repelled. The Jubi! Konohamaru trailed off. It's gone. He's become the Jubi's Jinchuriki, Land of Lightning battlefield. Damn it, Sasuke! Naruto snarled as he formed a hand seal and shifted into his sage mode. You may have become a Jinchuriki, but I can still kick your ass. Senpo, Myojinmen, he called out as dozens of torii gates dropped down from the sky and struck Sasuke's position. Did that do it? Konohamaru asked, only for the gates to be blown away with an echoing roar. I guess not, he added as he watched on. He had nothing left to fight with, and Shikaku would take a while to regenerate enough of its chakra to be of any use, especially in this kind of a battle. Naruto, Kurama spoke from the back of mind. I know, Naruto responded. He broke through the Senpo Fuin on the torii gates like they were nothing to him. He thought as 4 chakra arms extended from Sasuke's back and grasped the 4 walls of the barrier his clones had set up earlier. Shit! He exclaimed as the barrier seemed to snap from the pressure. Is it me, or is the Jubi stronger than when it was huge? Before it was nothing but sheer power akin to a force of nature, Kurama replied. Now it's directed and focused, so it's much more dangerous. Great, Naruto thought wryly. Sasuke, stop. That's enough, Konohamaru shouted to the last Uchiha. Suku, Sasuke asked slowly, unfocused. Shit, Naruto cursed as Sasuke lunged forward with inhuman speed towards Konohamaru. Hiraishin no Jutsu, he thundered as he quickly grabbed the Ichibi Jinchuriki and teleported away, narrowly escaping getting his side torn off by the attacking Uchiha. He's fast. I didn't even see him move, Konohamaru added as Naruto dropped him to the ground several miles away. Hey, what are you dash? He started only for Naruto to teleport away without him. He's going to fight Sasuke alone. Naruto reappeared near the center of the debris-ridden battlefield and spotted Sasuke not too far away, writhing about as his body convulsed and mutated further. What the hell is happening to him? Naruto asked in thought as he felt his sage mode leave him. He isn't like you or Hashirama, Kurama reasoned. You can't expect him to be able to handle the power of the Jubi even with those cursed eyes of his. His body can't take it? Naruto blinked in surprise, though he really shouldn't have been. He'd known that while the Uchiha had inherited a bastardized version of the old sage's eyes, the Senju had inherited his inhuman physical capacity, which had been passed on to the Uzumaki when the clan was founded. It was the reason why Konoha had brought in his mother to become Kurama's second Jinchuriki, because even if the Uchiha had a better chance of controlling the Kyuubi's power, only an Uzumaki or a Senju could possibly survive having such a creature sealed within them. It wasn't really a secret that Kurama was as powerful as the other 8 Biju combined, and as such he held half of the Jubi's power himself, so no normal human could hope to survive being his Jinchuriki, unlike the cases with his brethren. Judging by how Obito had used Mokutan earlier and had acquired Nagato's Rinnegan, it seemed even he knew that the Sharingan alone could never hope to completely control the Jubi. It seemed that Sasuke hadn't taken that into account. Enten, Umi no Koken? Sasuke whispered as black flames exploded from his right eye in massive wave of death that set the world in front of him ablaze. Chikuken Kekai? Naruto countered as he held up a kunai and quickly drew in the black flames, teleporting them away. Sasuke, can you understand me? he asked as he quickly drew on Kurama's chakra. I will delete the past. Sasuke spoke slowly as his eternal Mangekyo Sharingan spun wildly, and the Jubi's chakra encased his form, creating a black shroud forming 3 tails. He shot forward at Naruto and encased his hand in lightning. Raitun, Habataki Chidori. The echoing sound of 1,000 flapping birds echoed across the battlefield as he drove the now black lightning-covered fist at the blonde sage before him. Futon, Rasengan. Naruto countered by quickly forming a wind-infused spiraling sphere and then thrusting the attack forward to intercept the oncoming lightning strike. Despite having the elemental advantage, the best he could manage against the Jubi-empowered Sasuke was a draw which blew them both back. This isn't working, he thought. The whole world's against me, Naruto muttered as he looked over at his opponent, whom had again undergone a transformation. Sasuke was now covered in a black haze reminiscent of a demonic version 2 transformation, sporting 4 tails and a pair of eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. He's already adapted to 4 tails, he thought at the sight of his former comrade. Itachi, Sasuke gritted out. I'm sorry this all happened, Sasuke, Naruto told him before rushing forward. Who are you? Sasuke asked in pain. Get away from me, he roared in rage and despair, blowing Naruto back several feet. Damn it, Naruto grunted as he landed on his feet and stared at the sight in front of him. He transformed again. Finally, Naruto. Sasuke sneered as white humanoid bones grew across his body like some kind of exoskeleton, and another 2 tails grew from the shroud, bringing the total number up to 6. I suppose this is fitting. It started with us. It should end with us. His voice was cold as he started gathering red and blue chakra sphere into a single black orb at his mouth. That's... Naruto trailed off as a 3-pronged kunai slipped into his hand. By Jidama, Sasuke bellowed as he launched the black sphere at the blonde. Jikuken Kekai, Naruto countered as his space-time barrier stretched out from the kunai and stopped the oncoming projectile before teleporting it away. A nearby mountain exploded in a dome of light a moment later before dying down to reveal there was nothing left but a massive crater devoid of life. Damn it, Kurama. I need some help here, he yelled in thought as he felt Kurama chakra shroud dissolve. I need more time, Kurama shot back. You cannot keep this up forever, Naruto, Sasuke spoke clearly. I learned a lot from your death that day in the Land of Wave. Itachi taught me just how ugly this world is, and you taught me that it doesn't get any better no matter how hard you try. You wanted to become Hokage, and look at where you are now. Just another nuke-nin in a world of hatred. You're not the only one that Konoha has wronged, Naruto responded. They betrayed my family and hated me despite my father's wishes for something beyond my control. But you know what? Having a Biju sealed in me isn't as bad as people seem to think it is. HN, Sasuke grunted. Whatever. He narrowed his eyes and his tails started tearing up the ground behind him. It's about time to begin preparations for the Moon's Eye plan. This world no longer has any value in it. This world died with my brother. Listen up, Sasuke, Naruto shot back. This world isn't going to end because I'm still standing. Even now you still won't give up. Sasuke sneered as his chakra body started to expand. Oh shit! Naruto cursed under his breath as Sasuke's form changed into that of a monstrous beast with 8 tails, lacking only skin and fur. He has 8 tails now. By Jidama! Sasuke bellowed as he quickly created a now familiar black chakra orb in his mouth and launched it at the blonde. Naruto watched it approach with a grim look, knowing that he had already used up his various Hiraition kunai and various markers that were far away from civilian towns and villages. If he teleported this attack away from here, then it would probably kill a lot of people wherever it ended up, so that left only one option. He would have to do this the old-fashioned way. Kuchios, Goju Rashomon, Naruto called out as he slammed his hand down the ground. A large seal spread out across the landscape and 5 large demonic gates appeared in front of him, rising up from the ground as the black orb closed in. Come on, HT thought as the orb struck the first gate, blasting through it like it was nothing before blowing through the second gate a moment later. It continued on, smashing through the third and fourth gates before its angle was shifted as it tore through the fifth and final gate, veering off slightly to the side and passing Naruto. He changed its course? Sasuke thought as he watched the orb exploded in a dome of light behind his intended target. Mokutan, Mokuryu no Jutsu, Naruto exclaimed as a large wooden dragon exploded from the ground and wrapped around the massive eight-tailed Sasuke. You're still in my way. Sasuke snarled as his tails flared and pinned the wooden dragon. Baijidama! He roared as he fired off another black chakra sphere at the blonde. Mokutan, Makijin no Jutsu, Naruto yelled as a large wooden construct in the shape of a human quickly grew from under his feet and caught the orb with its right hand. Mokutan, Hobi no Jutsu, he added as the construct's face opened, allowing him to quickly slip inside. The sphere exploded in a dome of light which engulfed the two battling shinobi. Konohamaru was racing back to the battlefield only to stop as a giant dome of light illuminated the dark horizon. What's going on over there? He thought as the light died down and he took off towards where the battle was raging. He wasn't sure what he should be feeling right now. Sasuke was the enemy trying to destroy the world. Naruto Niken was the man responsible for the Chibi attack on Konoha, and Konoha had been destroyed along with his family and everyone he'd ever cared about. He was alone now with nothing left other than to keep moving forward and get back into the fight. At that point nothing else mattered to him but seeing this through to the end. Before he could continue that thought, a flicker of movement caught his attention from the side, causing him to turn sharply and grip a pair of shuriken tightly between his fingers. The Ichibi Jinchuriki. The figure spoke as she stepped into the moonlight. It was the red-haired woman he had fought at the Kage Summit. You are. Konohamaru trailed off as he stared at her. My name doesn't matter, Karen responded simply before casting a look towards the battlefield. It seems that the situation has taken a turn for the worse, she commented as she sensed the inhuman chakra levels of the two battling shinobi. Those two aren't human anymore. No, Konohamaru whispered in the night. Their strength is inhuman. So the Jubi was awakened and was sealed within a Jinchuriki, Karen mused. Is it Obito? No, it's not, Konohamaru answered honestly. It's Sasuke, he confirmed. Naruto is fighting him now. Then why are you over here? Karen questioned. Naruto teleported me here and left me. He went to fight alone, Konohamaru replied. Damn it, Karen cursed. Reinforcements are on the way, but they're still mopping up what's left of the Zetsu clones and the remaining pockets of Alliance Ninja. Even if they did get here soon, they'd probably just get in the way. That's probably why he sent this kid away from the battlefield. She sighed as chakra chains shot out from her back and pinned the exhausted Konohamaru. Geto, Chikura Kusari. Hey, what are you doing? Konohamaru gasped as he felt both his and Shikaku's chakra being suppressed. Sorry, Karen smiled down at him. But Naruto wants to free all the Biju, and that includes the Ichibi, so I'm going to have to release it from your body. Don't worry though. I'll resurrect you once it's out of you. A large, smooth, smoking crater sat silently where there was once a thriving forest, with the only sign of life being the two walking giants in the center of the destruction. One was a massive wolf with 9 tails, and the other was an equally large humanoid wooden construct standing not too far away from it. The face of the wooden human opened and Naruto stepped out with a glare towards the beast in front of him as Sasuke emerged from the wolf's forehead. Susanoo. Sasuke spoke clearly as the Jubi's chakra flooded his system, and he encased the 9-tailed wolf in purple armor. He's having that thing wearing his Susanoo like some kind of armor, Naruto thought at the sight. I can't suppress it as long as he's wearing that thing, he added grimly. It's hard to believe that Hashirama-sensei fought something like this. Focus, Kurama grunted from the back of his mind. Get ready, he said as he flooded Naruto with his chakra. It's about time, Naruto said aloud as golden chakra exploded from his form, taking the form of Kurama. Let's do this. You could never beat me, Naruto, Sasuke shouted as a much larger black chakra orb formed in the wolf's mouth. Udama Baijidama, Udama Baijidama, Kurama countered as he fired off his own enlarged black chakra ball. The two spheres collided in midair and exploded, blowing both of them away from each to opposite sides of the now much larger crater. This is the end, Sasuke declared confidently as the 10th and final tail formed, causing the wolf to grow to twice its previous size. I'm already at the top, Naruto. We used to be friends, Naruto whispered at the sight of what his former friend had become. It can't be helped, He sighed and closed his eyes as he concentrated both natural energy and Kurama's own chakra into his hand. "Here I come, Sasuke," he shouted as Kurama leapt forward with a roar. "Face me, Naruto," Sasuke yelled back as the Jubi roared. "Cho Udama Baijidama," he called out as a beam of chakra exploded from the wolf's mouth and washed over Kurama, leaving nothing but a 10-mile-wide trench in its wake. "Did I get him?" he thought, only to hear an unnerving screech echoing across the battlefield. Above, he must have teleported at the last second. "Futon, raising kamikaze," Naruto exclaimed as he descended upon the Jubi, encased his golden chakra shroud and his sage markings on his face. In his hand was a golden chakra shuriken with 4 white wind blades spinning around it. He hurled the chakra shuriken down towards the Jubi, which tried to evade the attack. In the end, the attack struck the wolf in the back, expanding into a mountain-sized sphere of wind and chakra that shredded everything it touched, including Sasuke's Susanoo armor. "Damn it, Dobe," Sasuke thought angrily as the wind sphere exploded with enough forward to knocking the Jubi to the ground with him still on top of its head. "Mokutan, Kakwan Nit Ten Shue Shu," Naruto called out as he landed, slammed his hand down on the Jubi's bare skin with a familiar green necklace in his palm. The Jubi roared as it was quickly pulled back into Sasuke's body, and its power suppressed, leaving only a battered and bleeding Uchiha Sasuke behind. "You!" Sasuke gritted out as he rose to his feet once more. "This is where it ends, Sasuke?" Naruto breathed out as he felt Kurama's chakra and his sage mode fade. They were both at their limits. One final clash, that's all they had left, and just as the dawn approached, "Dobe," Sasuke spoke quietly as he formed a series of hand seals. "You know, they say that when 2 first-class shinobi fight, that they no longer need words to understand each other. A lot of things could have been done differently," Naruto responded. "But it's useless thinking about what might have been." "HN," Sasuke grunted and shot forward with his hand encased in lighting. "Goodbye, old friend," Naruto whispered as he moved to intercept with his own chakra ball in hand. Rasengan, Chidori, Land of Lightning, battlefield. Karen felt the chakra spike one last time before it quickly faded, causing her to pale slightly and increase her speed. "Please be in time," she thought as she dropped down and landed at the edge of a tall cliff overlooking a massive canyon. "Is this the battlefield?" It looked like someone or something had taken a shovel and started carving out whole chunks of the mountain range. "There!" She felt the chakra pulse from the center of one of the nearby craters and took off towards it. Naruto, he was standing in the center with a black-haired man lying face down at his feet. Karen. Naruto's form wavered for a second before he fell backwards. "Naruto," Karen called out again as she quickly rushed over and caught him as he fell. "Are you okay?" she asked worriedly as she quickly scanned his body for injuries. "I'm just tired." Naruto smiled up at her. "More importantly, you need to use your Yin-Yang release on Sasuke to separate the Jubi back into the 7 Biju inside him before it breaks free of his body and returns to its original state." "Okay." Karen nodded in understanding and set him down. "On Mayatan, Banbutsu Sozo," she exclaimed as red and blue spheres of chakra gathered in her hands. She pushed the 2 orbs together and light consumed the world for an instant before it faded. When the light died down, the 7 imprisoned Biju and the Geto Mazo stood around them as Karen collapsed to her knees next to Naruto. "It's done," she said as she tried to steady her breathing. "Not yet." Naruto grinned up at her as he brought his hand branded with the key seal to the seal on his stomach. "Naruto," Karen asked in alarm. "I love you, Karen," Naruto whispered before turning the key and opening his seal. A fully formed flesh and bone Kurama emerged from the seal and landed on the cratered ground next to his siblings. "No," Karen gritted out as tears started to streak down her face. "Not like this," she said as she formed a hand seal and gathered what chakra she had left. She then pushed her very life force into the blonde, but having already used it to resurrect a certain Sarutobi earlier, coupled with her battle against Kabuto, had already pushed her reserves past their limit. "Damn it! It's not enough. Take some of my chakra if it will help," Kurama offered. "Kurama?" The Yanbi Son Goku asked him. "To a Biju, words mean nothing," Kurama explained as he held his paw down over his former Jinchuriki. "His actions were enough for me. We were watching The Nibi Matatabi nodded at his words. He was fighting so desperately. Is he the one? The Nanabai Chome asked the question. You the one that the old man spoke about at the end? The Gobi Kokuo asked back. Probably. You don't think he's the old man's? The Hachibi Gyuki trailed off. Yeah. Kurama nodded. It's about damn time. So that's how it is, huh? The Sanbai Isapu mused. I'm in. Shikaku spoke up as his body formed beside the others and placed his hand over Kurama's. Heh! To think you would be helping out for once. The world must have ended again. Kurama smirked at the sand raccoon. Shove off, you old fox. Shikaku shot back. One by one, the Biju placed their hands over Kurama's and Karen quickly gathered portions of their chakra. Geto, Rinne Tensei no Jutsu. She called out as their chakra flowed through her and bolstered her own wavering reserves. She flooded Naruto's body with the chakra she had gathered as a green glow encased him. He wasn't going to die. She wasn't going to let him just die here. Not when their dream was so close. Wake up! She screamed at him. Damn it, Karen! Naruto groaned. Keep it down, would you? Some of us are trying to sleep here, you know? Naruto! Karen trailed off as she pulled him into her arms. You reckless idiot! Don't ever do something that stupid again. Sorry. Naruto winced. But I did say I was going to free the Biju, so that included Kurama too. Try not to die again, Kit. Kurama smirked down at him. You're much more entertaining while you're alive. Thanks, Kurama. Naruto deadpanned. It's good to know that you enjoy watching my pain. Think nothing of it? Kurama waved off his words and grinned. You're a lot more laid back than you used to be, Kurama-kun. Matatabi commented with a purr. I wonder just how laid back you really are now. You two are siblings, right? Naruto blinked as he asked the fox. I mean, it's okay if you are dash. Naruto, Kurama spoke with a glare. Shut up, air. Okay. Naruto shook himself and tried to stand only to be pushed back to the ground by Karen. Don't overdo it, Karen told him clearly. Sasuke? Naruto asked after a moment of silence. He's dead, Karen replied simply. Then you know what to do, Naruto said as he rose to his feet. Karen walked over to the fallen Uchiha and turned him over so he was facing the now cloudless sky. They watched on as unsealed a glass jar filled with water and removed his eyes one by one. She stored them in the jar before backing away from the Uchiha and setting his body on fire. They all stood and watched as the man once known as Uchiha Sasuke was burned away into ash and dust. The final mark on a man who was cursed by hatred. Goodbye, Sasuke. Naruto smiled sadly as his old friend finally found his peace. Let go home, Karen whispered as the flames cackled in the morning light. It had been a long night. Land of Spring. Yuki/Tsunade Hospital. Following the Battle of the Ten Tails and the end of the Fourth Great Shinobi War, the remaining Alliance ninja and Zetsu forces were hunted down and killed by various Yuki ninja. With the 5 great shinobi villages destroyed by the Jubi, Obito, and Sasuke, various smaller villages tried to rise up and take their place. During this time, Karen had transplanted Sasuke's eternal Mangekyo Sharingan into Naruto, and with Kurama's help evolved it into the Rinnegan. It wasn't long before a fully healed Naruto led Yuki in an invasion of the mainland, resulting in the conquest of the smaller warring nations. Those that surrendered joined under Yukigakure no Sato's banner. However, those that opposed them were quickly crushed by either Naruto or Karen. The Biju went their separate ways after being released and scattered all over the continent. Shikaku had gone back to the desert in the Land of Wind, while Son Goku, Kokuo, Saiken, and Chome all disappeared somewhere in the Land of Earth. Isapu went back to his lake in the Land of Water, and Gyuki had returned to the Jinchuriki Temple on Turtle Island. As for Matatabi and Kurama, they chose to stay in the Land of Spring and had taken up residence along the southern coast. Konohamaru had taken a ship away from the Shinobi continent, saying that there were just too many painful memories for him there, and so wanted to start a new life. He left after forgiving Naruto for the Ichibi attack on Konoha, having understood why the blonde Uzumaki did it, and disappeared into the vast uncharted ocean. Naruto was saddened that he wasn't staying but understood that he needed time to heal. Before he left, Naruto gave him one of his Hiraishin kunai and told him that if he ever needed anything at all, then just summon him. With the shinobi world finally at peace for the first time in decades, Naruto was about to face his greatest challenge yet. It was something that no man was ever truly ready for, but in the end this was what he had wanted since the beginning. He had always wanted a family, and now he would finally get his wish. This was the refounding of the Uzumaki clan. This was the day he would become a father. The newly constructed Tsunade Hospital, named after the legendary medic Nin, whom fought in the Fourth War, sat on the east side of the village. Uzumaki Karen, a now 26-year-old stunningly beautiful woman with long red hair, was currently in more pain than any male could possibly comprehend. Naruto-kun, I'm going to kill you for this, she screamed at her husband as she practically crushed his hand in hers. Why, you're doing great, Karen-chan. Uzumaki Naruto gritted out as he felt the bones in his hand break. At 25 years old, he had settled into his new lifestyle as the leader of the shinobi continent. He was the Taiken, the strongest shinobi of his era, and had surpassed even Senju Hashirama. Things used to be so simple when he was trying to save the world and free the Biju, but now things were different. He had to do paperwork all day long. Oh, the humanity! Now his wife was breaking his hand because of something they did on their wedding night 9 months ago. We're not having any more children after this. Do you hear me, Databane? Karen shouted in pain. Damn Karen-chan. Naruto thought with a wince as he felt her chakra crack the floor and walls. Ease up a little, would you? At this rate she'll bring down the whole hospital. One last push, Karen-sama. The female doctor, Haku, spoke clearly without even flinching at the sheer amount of chakra the red-haired woman was flooding the room with. Karen screamed one last time before falling back on the hospital bed, breathing hard, which was soon followed by the sound of a baby crying. Congratulations, it's a boy, Haku informed them as she called for one of the nurses to approach. Let me see him, Karen said, clearly tired. Here you go. Karen smiled as she handed the now clean baby over the new mother wrapped in a blanket. He had blue eyes and red hair with 6 notable whisker-like marks on his cheeks. This is our son. Karen smiled with tears flowing from her eyes. He's got your eyes. And your hair. Naruto smiled back. Do you have a name for him yet? Karen asked them. Minato, Naruto answered for them. His name is Uzumaki Minato.